Coast, but they are in ripping form. They're a good side. Yes, Tuke Miller is a big loss, but the midfield still is quality. Noah Anderson, Matty Rowell, Darcy McPherson, who comes into the back line, but Will Power, David Swallow, Ainsworth, Holman, they've still got some quality, and the craft that you know better than most, two Brogues, is that Jared Witts is the number one ruckman in the competition, hit-outs to advantage up against Riley O'Brien. He's going to find it different against a player that played Port Adelaide last week only in his second game.
Well, Gold Coast have enough in the midfield to match it with Adelaide. They have been super impressive last 2 weeks. King's just broken the shackles with this group, and they were super last week against Brisbane. I think that the midfield matchup, Rowe's in unbelievable form. He's such a ball. He's high up in tackles. He's high up in pressure. He's high up in clearances. But they're going to have their hands full. Adelaide's midfield was obliterated Port Adelaide last week through the midfield, which was somewhat of a little bit of a surprise. Crouch is in good form. Dawson just keeps keeping on. But the forward v backline, the backline for Gold Coast and the backline for Adelaide are both going to have their hands full, aren't they? Because Gold Coast have got some super forwards in good form. King's back in good form. Casbolt has played a lot of footy. He's a big unit. And Gold Coast going to have their hands full with Taylor Walker. 7 goals, 4 last week. Fogarty's in good form, and Tilthorpe can pop up and kick 5. So the team with the most supply in their forward line, Adelaide are very efficient going forward, are going to have their hands full.
Just on the midfield battle, Brogues, you mentioned Riley O'Brien's in pretty good form. He leads the league for hit-outs. Dominated Dante Vicentini last week. 40 hit-outs to his name, but only 17% of them went to advantage. And it didn't seem to hurt Adelaide. Clearly they had that dominance in the middle, but he's got Jared Witts across from him this afternoon. Is that going to be a battle that can shape the game?
Oh, look, absolutely. Like, Witts is 200-game player, captain of the footy club. O'Brien's in super form. If you look at O'Brien's last month, he's got some big scalps. Although last week wasn't a big scalp, he's in super form. These are probably in the top 2, top 5 ruckmen in the comp, and it is ruck round. So Witts and O'Brien will be looking to play very well. But Witts is a super player, and he's a real awkward left-hander as well, and he gets good touch on the footy, and he hunts the ball really well. So O'Brien's going to have to be at his best today, because the ruck battle is going to go down to help the midfield battle, whoever wins the game today.
And we know Riley O'Brien gets around the ground. He's got a big motor. He does go deep, whereas Jared Witts doesn't go as deep, and he sits more around the middle. He doesn't go forward, because you got Casbolt or King that can do the ruck work, where Taylor Walker does a little bit there. So we know when Riley's up and about, he does take those defensive marks. But I think this is probably his biggest challenge.
Absolutely.
In terms of the ruck craft.
Absolutely. Witts loves to go back and help his back line, and which he's going to need to do that today. So if O'Brien doesn't engage him, Witts could be a handful getting in the way of the Adelaide forward line. So O'Brien's going to have to go and engage him and see if he can get some footy on him, so it drags Witts out of Adelaide's forward line. But it's going to be a great duel, and being a former ruckman, I look forward to watching it.
And then the defence of Adelaide too. James Borlase in his second or third year now too. The pedigree. His dad was a 200-game, 4-time, I think, premiership player, was it, for Port Adelaide, and then his mum played netball for Australia, and tremendous netball locally here in South Australia. He's got one of the broadest shoulders I've ever seen on a man. I don't know for those that...
Paint the picture for us, Jamo.
Well, if you recall Martin Leslie, who played football for South Australia, who was also Port Adelaide, his shoulders were like that. This kid has got the broadest shoulders.
Could have been a swimmer.
Oh, it's huge. So, look, I know his form in the SNFL in the defence has been tremendous too. So it was whether he comes in last week, or do you go with Mark Keane, who's played 5 games prior to last week for Collingwood a couple of years ago. They went with Mark Keane, and he played really well. So, albeit through the unfortunate circumstances of Jordan Butts breaking his foot, now for the remainder of the season that James gets a chance. So it'd be great to see him, get a go in the back line.
Didn't they wasn't Martin Leslie known as the coat hanger?
Yeah.
Because of that.
Port Adelaide, maybe.
Oh, he was incredible.
The big shoulders.
And where do Adelaide get these big backs from?
Yeah.
Murray's huge, Butts is huge. We talk about Keane last week. Second game comes in, and he had some hairy moments last week on Dixon, but he just got on with the job and ended up playing very well. And then Borlase just comes in. Where they come from?
And also their recruitment of them. So Butts was a rookie draftee. Murray was picked off the farm. Keane obviously played for Collingwood, went back to Ireland, comes back as a pre-season signing, and Borlase was a Cat B rookie. So none of them are actually...
Don't talk about Borlase in that same category. There's a bit of disputing about how he got to Adelaide.
Port Adelaide certainly had a look in.
But what Adelaide's backs do is they win their one-on-ones. And that's all the young kid has to do today is be good in the air, get the ball to the ground, and let Adelaide's ground ball players get to work, because they are super in that area. So if they can get that done, transition from back 50 to forward 50, it's one of Adelaide's strengths.
Funny old one with the Gold Coast. So very impressive last week. You talk about one-on-ones. Since round 17, they're last for winning offensive one-on-ones and last for losing defensive one-on-ones. So technically, they're not the greatest contested side.
No, but they've only got a few that can do it and win it well. I always want Matty Rowell to not win as much contested and win some easier footy on the outside. And I feel a little bit like the same with, say, Darcy Fogarty. Like, it's just that, he's always scrapping one-on-one, and you're at the hands of the delivery of your midfield and your back to come. And I just feel he makes the area to be able to clear his defensive player, but the kicker either's got to sit on his head or he's got to get down low, so the defender sort of catches up in that way, shape or form. I guess the area that Adelaide can really get on top, just the first quarters. Adelaide have won 11 this year, the Gold Coast have won 9, but the differential in scoring is huge. So on average, well, there's 76 points, versus 51. So there's a real big difference there. And it's the second and third where both sides sort of slip away, and the fourth quarter where we've seen, and even last week, and go back to round 3 when they played Port Adelaide, they kicked the last 6 of that game. So they always finish really strong. So the first quarter. So here, Gold Coast are looking to win. They're playing good footy. You'd think off a great win last week. Adelaide at home, they'll be going, we have to shut these boys down really early and get through to quarter time.
And Adelaide are always 3-goal better team in the first quarter at home, as we know. So, yeah, for Gold Coast, it's just get to quarter time and be, down by 10 points or, be even level.
Yep.
You just got to take it quarter by quarter. With a young group, you just got to set little goals along the way. So the start is crucial for Gold Coast today.
The voices of Dean Brogan, Rod Jamieson, Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you to call the action here at the Adelaide Oval. Pretty chilly conditions. Hopefully the rain stays away. Let's check in downstairs with the fifth member of our commentary team, Liz Walsh. Liz.
Thanks, Aaron. I have to be honest, actually the conditions down here are pretty perfect considering it is the middle of winter. You mentioned no rain. There is some cloud around. Cross your fingers for me. Only the slightest breeze. It is chilly though. It's 13 degrees. Regardless of the conditions, just looking around the ground, it's probably fair to say we won't get anywhere near the 50,000 we got for last week's showdown. However, the crowd building is not too bad considering the time slot. Meanwhile, we've all just seen Gold Coast win the toss. They'll be kicking to the northern scoreboard end of Adelaide Oval. I'll quickly look to the benches for you, and for Adelaide, Riley Thilthorpe joins the 3 housemates, Josh Rochelle, Jake Saligo and Luke Nankervis in starting on the bench, with Rory Sloane going in as the Crows tactical sub, while for the Gold Coast, Bailey Humphrey, Elijah Hollands, Darcy McPherson and Jai Farah will be starting on the bench. James Cheetahs is the Suns tactical sub.
It's just a quickie. Which way? You mentioned the breeze. Who's favouring?
Well, look, it's a very, very minor breeze. I'd say it's almost just going straight across the ground, straight towards me.
So the Suns kicking to the left of your radio dial, the Crows right. The City Riverbank stand end. Must-win game for both these clubs. Adelaide and Gold Coast still have hopes of September action. A loss today would certainly dash them. Score check at Docklands. Essendon lead West Coast by 3 points, 1-5-11 to 1-2-8. Time on in the first there. If you do want to hear it, jump on the ABC Listen app and hit the AFL button. Here, though, luckily thriller coming your way on Grandstand AFL. Adelaide and Gold Coast to kick things off. Here's Neil Cross.
So here we go. Statistically, probably the best ruckman in the league. Jared Witts gets first possession out of the middle, goes towards wing. Oh, it was uncomfortable height for Chase Jones. Accidentally kicked it straight to Rosas inside forward 50. Casbolt leads up and takes the mark ahead of the first gamer in ball ace. And on the way through, Chase Jones was a victim there.
Yeah, I think friendly fire too. James Borlase has collected Chase Jones and he's still down. It looks like he's winded. He's trying to suck it in, but as a defender, you can't do much more than that. He was right with him, but the kick was tremendous.
So Casbolt comes in, crosses the 50, kicks a goal. He's got the distance and he's hooked it.
It's a big matchup for young ball ace on Casbolt, first game, and he's right in the mix of it.
So the Suns hitting the scoreboard early, albeit a minor score. Adelaide will move to the right back pocket, quick exit. Worrell straight to Miller now out towards the western wing, floating across. Fogarty took a nice pack mark right in front of the benches. Has a runner back to Miller. 32 touches last week. He'll head up towards the arc. McAndrew battling there with McAdam. At the back was O'Brien. Hands it to his skipper Dawson, but under pressure he's coughed it up. Great tackle from Swallow. And here come the Suns. Anderson played on to advantage. Was tackled as he tried to race out of the 50 and is caught holding the ball by Lockie Murphy. One of the rising stars for Gold Coast. Makes a crucial error early.
Well, that's standing defensive action. That's what Adelaide was so good last week too. Really had to go to work on the clearances. They've got some quality offensive players, Port Adelaide, but the Gold Coast just needed to assess better. And Lockie Murphy defensive work has been outstanding.
A 2-year extension during the week. Murphy comes in, leans back on the kick, straight as an arrow. Adelaide with the first goal of the afternoon. 1 straight 6. The Suns 1 behind. We've played 2 minutes in the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
And that's what Adelaide do really well. You touched on it, Jamo. When the ball's inside their 50, they lock it in. They're number 1 in the comp for stoppages inside their 450. Not that was a stoppage, but that gets back to pressure. And that's what Murphy's in the side for. But just quickly, O'Brien, we spoke pre-game about Witts getting back to help out with their defence. O'Brien engaged in, made a contest, got the handball off. So really good start by Adelaide.
Just the run of Wayne Miller too, out of defence. He's been injured but had a tremendous season. He's almost been like a new recruit. Max Michaelani had a week off. This is his second game back in. He's been super tight. So just the run and rebound from Adelaide. They get so much drive from their defence.
A lot of push and shove off the ball. But now we're down to action again. Ball comes to ground off the contest. Rails opposed to Dawson, who got the foot to the ball out wide. Murphy running back with it. Took the mark, played on, stabs it inside 50, straight off the chest of McAdam. Gold Coast able to clear it out towards Witts. Quick hand pass out. He got it wide. Then it's on Ellis, who was receiving the ball from Flanders. Adelaide intercept, and the first kick of the game for the debut man in Borlase. Gets it to Walker at half forward, inside 50, no. Ball smothered.
Spilled back to Smith. Now Michaelani back to Borlase, retrieves it again. Back to halfback. Mitch Hinge starting around Ben King. He'll head up to centre wing on the outer side and spots Walker again, presenting far from home. He'll hand it over the top to Crouch. Charging towards left half forward. Into the 50 he goes. Caught a hand on the way. Cutting across Anderson. Prevented it from getting into the arc. Just outside. McAdam hands it to Crouch. He'll head inside the left forward pocket again. Fogarty sliding in low. Ballard got a fist in late. Rao bowled over as he tried to gather the footy. And it ricochets over the boundary line. 40 metres out, left forward pocket. Riverbank stand end. The Crows up by 5.
The defence of the Gold Coast know they're in a game. They've been beat up physically. And the midfield have to push back to help out, which they've been able to do. So when they've actually got the football to go forward, they haven't been able to have the numbers
Walker,
in front of the footy.
Walker takes it out of the ruck contest, gets past a couple, slides it to goal up the left foot. Oh, Taylor Walker. How old is he? That's ridiculous. Crows, 2 goals on the board, 12, 2 straight 12 playing the Gold Coast, just the 1 behind. 11-point lead, 4 minutes in.
This guy's in super form, isn't he? He just pushed Jared Witts out of the way, grabbed it, trotted through 3 or 4 Gold Coast and kicks a scrubber on his left for a goal. Pretty poor by Witts. He's the captain of the footy club, and we've just singing his praises. He's one of the best ruckmen in the comp and just gets shoved out of the way, albeit Taylor Walker is a strong player, but they've got to be better, Gold Coast, and early signs aren't good for them right now.
And Taylor Walker's effort too, like prior to that, there was 2 efforts up the wing where he's actually presented himself, won the football. And Matty Crouch, we spoke about pre-game as to how good he is this year in his 3rd game, just giving it to Jared Witts on the way back.
He's a goal away from equaling his career best, set in 2012, Taylor Walker, of 63. Adelaide up by 11 points early. Nice clean bounce in the middle. Neither ruck jumped. Witts won it down looking for Laird. There's a holding free kick. It will go Rory Laird's way. Called to play on. Left shoulder strapped after that big collision a fortnight ago. Heads into the arc. Presenting was McAdam. Didn't quite get there in time. It fell in the hole. Ballard goes to ground. Picking it up. Power for the Suns. He's wrapped up by a couple. Trickles out to Murphy, who hands it to Keys. Quick step towards goal, and he hits the left-hand goal post. Minor score for the Crows. 2-1-13. Gold Coast 1 behind.
Just contested possession, Adelaide 11, Gold Coast 4. Inside 50s 5-1. Gold Coast are under siege here at the moment.
Riley O'Brien just did the ruck work and just bolted forward once Adelaide won the footy.
Atkins, the former Crow, plays on for Gold Coast. Goes wide. McAndrew with a good mark. Out on the eastern side of the ground, just outside defensive 50. Goes down the line. And well done by King. Got rid of his man there, Miller. So a bad matchup that time for the Crows. So King with a mark on the logo on centre wing. Keeps it wide. And inside 50, Worrell brings it to ground ahead of Lukosius. Through came Keane, handed it off. Hinge with a left foot disposal back towards King, sliding in, taking the mark for Gold Coast.
Worrell and Lukosius, great matchup. Two similar players.
So Ben King, 5 goals in the Q clash, heads into the scoreboard pocket. Standing in the hole is Mark Keane. Called to play on, they didn't pay the mark. Casbolt wrenches it out of his arms, spills to Holman, kick was smothered. Darting away is Hinge now, tackled as he kicked it, only finds Witts just outside the arc. Ellis for the Suns, back to Atkins. The former Crow heads to the top of the goal square. Roses at the back. Keane was shoved out of it, and the official saw it. Free kick to Adelaide. What would have been a set shot for Gold Coast.
Lukosius just too enthusiastic.
So Adelaide through Miller, who'd received the ball from Keane, who dropped it short. Miller's kick was looking for Murphy, but Gold Coast had numbers there. Ainsworth knocking it over the boundary line and back inside, attacking 50. So left half forward for Gold Coast, heading to the cathedral end of the Adelaide Oval. Ball comes back into play. Neither ruckman gets to it. Comes off the knee of Witts and then back over the boundary line. Will go again.
Very shallow boundary throw in. Josh Rochelle on for his first run after a 2-week suspension.
Funny old matchup up forward. McAdams on McAndrew, which is a bit of a height mismatch. Free kick in the ruck contest. High contact going Adelaide's way.
Schoenberg running with Matt Rowell.
So Riley O'Brien has it in defensive 50 for the Crows. As you mentioned, first in the league for hit-outs. Jared Witts, his opponent today, second. O'Brien really dropped the ball as low as he could. Nice kick, actually, down towards centre wing. Standing in front, Rochelle on return. Takes a great contested mark. No one stands the mark, so he can play on and dart through centre wing. Kicks up to half forward. Finds Fogarty close to the boundary line. Too far out to score. Suns have zoned off ahead of him, so he'll head back on the 45 to the logo. Finds ball 8. Plenty of footy early. Disposal number 3. Now Schomburg in the centre circle.
Schomburg called to play on, has to drop it short, does so to Hinge, still inside the centre square, around on the left foot, drops it in long into the forward line, and coming out was Powell with the easy intercept mark for the Gold Coast. So Powell takes it out towards the eastern side of the defensive arc, comes to this side of the ground in Ainsworth. He drops it in short. Hollands with the mark, backing up. Inboard with a slight angle near the centre square, found by Rowell, who goes back inside the centre square. Lukosius takes it under pressure, but took it on the chest.
South Australian heads straight towards the arc. Didn't quite have the distance. Ellis presents. Got it off the hands of Thilthorpe. Caught in the tackle, though. Drops the footy. Whistle stays away. Witts at the back for Gold Coast. Hands it to Powell. He'll head inside 50. Long ball right forward pocket. King breaks away and takes the mark up against Michaelani. Yes. Paid just inside the field of play. As the crowd goes silent at the Adelaide Oval, this will be a tough task for Ben King. Essentially straight on to the right-hand behind post. He'll have to open the arc.
Great forward calf by Ben King. He just nudged him out with his body, but without his hands, got his hands up.
Had 3 goals on the Crows earlier this year. Goes for the check side, just can't squeeze it in. Minor score on the left-hand side. Gold Coast 2 behinds. Adelaide 2-1-13. 10 minutes into the opening term over at the Docklands. Second quarter underway. And sound the alarm. Eagles are up by a point over the Bombers.
Sound the siren, you mean? So Adelaide plays on, goes to ball ace again. Handball to Miller down the line on this broadcast side. He was looking for either McAdam there or Laird, but ball was knocked over the boundary line by Andrew. So right near the interchange gates, and they're frantically in action at the moment. Both sides making their changes as the boundary umpire is going to fling it back in. Witts got to the front, tapped it down, got his own ball in the end. Hand pass forward, found Flanders, left foot was low. Ball ace was with Lukosius. Over the ball was Worrell, did well, got it out. and they flick it through the hands. Miller was involved, Crouch was involved. It was back to Miller down the line with a hasty kick, intercepted by Powell, who's had a lot of the ball.
Powell heads inside 50 for Gold Coast, coming late. King with the spoil, thrusted it straight to Borlase, who uses Hinge, and now Crouch can get the exit for Adelaide. Didn't know what to do with it. Hands it to Jones. He was taken down late, Matt Crouch, and they'll take the free kick. Hinge was called for the advantage, and he didn't have it. Had to rush his exit out towards the square. It bounces off the hands of Atkins, and Schonberg tucks it under his arm. Kicks up to half forward to Walker. Charging through is Smith. Instead he'll head to the goal and find McAdam. Straight in front, 20 out. Excellent vision from Taylor Walker.
Well done, James Borlase, too, in that passage of play to be able to get back. His touch has been good. Doesn't look out of place. He's got his hands above his head, sucking in the big ones, too. But Schoenberg, quality of possession and his disposal on that occasion.
Had a goal every game this year, Shane McAdam. Although he'll be halted in his run-up as we have a blood rule. Matt Rao will make his way to the bench.
Just on while Rao's got the blood rule, there was a 50-50 ball between him and Worrell beat him. For a young kid to go up against an established player like Rao, unbelievable 50-50 ball, which leaves Adelaide having a shot on goal. That won't get missed during the week in the highlight rule, let me tell you.
So now McAdam can start his approach. 4-3 for the year. Chance to make it a 3-goal game. The hop skip. Easy finish. Puts it straight over the goal umpire's hat. Adelaide 3-1-19. Gold Coast 2 behinds. 12 minutes into the opening term here at the Adelaide Oval. Liz Walsh down on the boundary.
Yeah, James Borlase just coming from the ground then, heading straight to the bench, and everyone stood up, gave him a big pat on the head. That includes Rory Sloane, who's the tactical sub today. He stood up, gave everyone's Matthew Nix, Dan Jackson, everyone down here, very proud of him.
20 more possessions to Adelaide thus far in the quarter. 7 more contested football and 7 apiece inside 50. So the Gold Coast got themselves back into it. And we just glowing of the Adelaide defence, and they've been able to stand up and defend and rebound, and James Borlase has been one of those.
But Hinge's kick, it was a risky kick, wasn't it? But he just went for it, and sometimes it comes off and sometimes it doesn't, but if it comes off, that's what you get, easy shots in front of goal. Terrific play by young Hinge.
Adelaide by 17 points. Ball goes down in the middle, and Casbolt's in there to relieve for the Gold Coast, but he can't get it out. It's ultimately Crouch who received it from Soligo. He went wide to the wing, and the mark taken by Chase Jones. Down forward, good kicking by Adelaide. Keys with the mark just inside the boundary at left half forward. So that's on the eastern side of the ground. Onward he goes, plays on, sends it high inside forward 50. Ball off hands. McPherson on the turn, just got it to the top of the 50. Schonberg gave the head pass out to Miller. Schonberg will come back and take a free kick. Holding, said the umpire, just outside attacking 50 for Adelaide to the left of the goalposts.
Thought about handballing to Mitch Hinge too. Ran behind.
Schonberg now looking inside 50, takes the option of inside to Crouch. Oh, it might be 50, it is. Took a strong mark. King came in and then knocked it out of his hands late. And Crouch will go virtually to the top of the goal square.
Just silly.
Just no need to do it, was there? Like, that's always a 50. It's just undisciplined. And Gold Coast haven't shown up today. Adelaide are all over him at the moment, and this could get real ugly for Gold Coast.
In fact, not the top of the goal square. He almost went to the line. He's gone about 5 metres out, the man on the mark. So Crouch will come in. Welcome back, Matt Crouch. You've had problems, but you've made the most of it in this team. Kicks a goal. Adelaide have 4 on the board. 4-1-25, plays 2 behinds from the Suns. We're halfway through the opening quarter at the Adelaide Oval. On the boundary, Liz Walsh.
Another little problem for Gold Coast down here. Matt Rouse just headed down into the rooms with a trainer. Looks like he's got a little cut above one of his eyes, so that will just need some patching up.
We spoke about how the Gold Coast had to contain Adelaide's first quarter, and they haven't managed to do it as yet. Still 10 minutes remaining in this first quarter to pull it back in the manner in which they need to do. But just Adelaide, they're at 78% disposal efficiency against 75, but unfortunately there's 15 more kicks and Adelaide are just covering the ground.
Gold Coast just can't get their hands on it, Jamo.
A fluctuation of form across the campaign for Gold Coast. Incredible last week and haven't turned up early. 23-point game. O'Brien wins it down in the middle. Put it in the path of Laird. Missed his boot as he dropped the ball in the tackle from Humphrey. Whistle stays away. Flanders gets it out towards Power for the Suns. Anderson, nice little spin handball. Got it to Ellis. Into the 50. King was presenting and Keane got across to cut him off. Got it to ground. Ball ace now to Nankervis. Exits in the path of Rochelle. Overruns the footy in the end. McPherson got there, kept it in play. Kicked back towards the arc, but Hinge was waiting. Retreats with a handball to Keane. And a long ball out to the outer wing.
It's a floater, but it was well judged by Soligo. Got rid of Ellis. And then Dodgebank got the mark. Plays on now. Out on that eastern side. Down the line for McAdam. Jumped on Casbolt. Ball came to ground and over the boundary line. We'll get a throw in there. It's a left half forward for Adelaide. They're in the front half again.
James Borlase, 7 disposals, 100% efficiency at the moment. Really clean in his first game.
Playing around those guys that he's played a lot of SANFL with. Worrell, Nankervis, players like that. So he's slotted in well. Off the ruck contest. Involved now Worrell. Hand pass back looking for Nankervis. Suns have numbers. They force the ball to Humphrey. Oh, he didn't know what to do with the ball. Got away from Jones though. Went wide with a kick. Coming late was Murphy. Knocked it away from Lukosius. Lukosius comes back on the ball. Gets an opportunity. Pushed off it out on the full. Adelaide will take the free kick. Pressure telling for the Suns.
Crowd favourite already.
I think it's Gold Coast's ball.
Yeah, they're going to give it to Lukosius in the end. Although the crowd was certainly with you, Crossy. They thought it was Matt Crouch's. So Lukosius now for Gold Coast, forward of centre wing. Heads into the scoreboard pocket. Kings outnumbered 3-1. Worrell got front position, brought it to ground, wants to escort it to the boundary line, and Holman will take him there quite heavily with the tackle. Boundary throw in to come, 35 out. At the Docklands, Essendon lead by 5 points over West Coast, early stages of the second
term.
term.
Just a replay on that out in the full. It was Borlase making the smother. It came off the back of his calf.
Jared Witts on the bench. Casbolt into the ruck in the middle and up forward.
O'Brien won it down. Holland's got a slap forward looking for Swallow, but Adelaide will get the exit. Long ball out towards the logo. In the pack, McAdam brought it down. Keys now gathers on the bounce just inside the square. Handball in hope, just over the top. Only found Flanders. Andrews kick smothered though by Keys. The pressure is relentless from Adelaide. Lemons is as well by McAdam. Beautiful effort. Thilthorpe inside, finds Fogarty. Now McAdam at half forward. Tried to dart back inside, didn't realise McAndrew was next to him. And as a result, Lemons gets the exit to Hollands. Here come Gold Coast on the counter.
Oh, they turned it straight over. Missed Casbolt with a kick, did Hollands, and the ball went straight to O'Brien. He goes back to find Hinge. Across the goals, they go to the prolific ball ace, it must be said, on debut, then Michael Annie. So all of this is short kicking. Now they've switched to this broadcast side to Soligo. Down the line he goes with a kick. Very good kick, just out of reach. Or just the fingertips of Rochelle, and the ball taken over the line by McPherson in the end for the Gold Coast, and it's a throw in at right half forward for Adelaide.
Where's Borlase been? Yeah. Wow, what a start for the young kid.
8 disposals now. Just that McAdam, he should have kicked. He held onto the football, wanted to get around his opponent. He had Rochelle lace out. Gold Coast won the footy back.
Casbolt in the ruck, tapped it straight down to Laird. His kick up to the arc, fumbled again by Rochelle. That's 2 marks he's put down. And a ball up to come as Keys is wrapped up. Close to centre half forward for Adelaide. 23 points the lead. Witts won it down, bounced off Dawson's bootlaces. Coming through Ellis is wrapped up in the skipper's tackle. Another ball up closer to right half forward.
Just can't cover the ground at the moment. Once they get their hands on the footy, the Gold Coast, Adelaide have almost doubled their distance.
This time O'Brien gathers on the bounce. Wrapped up by Witts. Coughed it up, but it won't go anywhere. Nice tackle from Schomburg on Humphreys at the attacking edge of the square.
Up goes the ball again. O'Brien comes from straight opposite Witts. Brought it down. Adelaide over it with Miller, but Ainsworth picks it up for the Gold Coast, and then a quick kick from Ellis down the line finds Casbolt. Goes inboard, misses his man. That's not his kick, Casbolt. Ball on the ground in the centre. It's up for grabs. Murphy fighting away. He's dived on it. The ball's come out. Schomburg lost it. So did McPherson. Swung on the tackle by Laird. Free kick. Man held without the ball. McPherson will take the free kick for the Gold Coast, and he'll kick it from dead centre of the Adelaide Oval.
McPherson heads straight into the arc. Not sure who to though. Bounced in the hole. Couple of Crows players around it. Hinge uses Jones. Now Keane with the exit. Broadcast wing. Fogarty's outnumbered, caught a push as well, and Powell takes the intercept mark. He'll send it dangerously though to Witts, too high above the ruckman. At the back, O'Brien shepherds to enable Murphy to charge through. He'll kick up the spine for Adelaide. Didn't favour Walker. It's messy footy right now. Gold Coast have it. McPherson up to right half forward, spots Ainsworth, takes the uncontested mark, and he can turn and go as well. Paddock ahead of him. He'll pop it up into the scoreboard pocket. Casbolt's his target. Great spoil from Ball Ace, much to the cheer of the crowd here at the Adelaide Oval. He knocks it over the boundary line, scoreboard pocket. And Adelaide's defence looks hungry this afternoon, considering its inexperience.
You can tell what Gold Coast are trying to do. They're trying to rip, every time they win the footy, they're trying to rip it back through the middle, but just their skill level's not there at the moment.
In the hands of the wrong players. Another short throw in. O'Brien on the ground. Hand pass out in the direction of Laird. He's taken down in a tackle. And that was by Humphrey. So umpire calling for it. So it remains in that scoreboard pocket, the right forward pocket for Gold Coast. O'Brien will go against Witts again. And O'Brien tapped it beautifully to Schonberg. He can't get through a tackle. Released a hand pass just in time, and the ball goes over the boundary line.
O'Brien started really well. 9-2 in hit-outs. O'Brien's Adelaide's favour. He's competing really well against Witts.
Rory Laird, normally prolific winning the football. He's only got 2 disposals to this time. Flanders with 6, Powell with 6, Brandon Ellis 5.
Adelaide by 23. Witts won it down to Hollins, who tried to dart and weave out of traffic, lost it. Exit for Adelaide comes to Keys. Spun a full 360 but hands it to Crouch. And now Dawson. There's the trifecta. He'll head up towards the arc. Philthorpe back with the flight. Took it against Ballard, who couldn't make anything of it. Chips in the path of Fogarty, who marks 20 out. Disposes of his opponent as well in the process. Excellent delivery there from Jordan Dawson. Charlie Ballard is the best defender in the league, and he couldn't do anything with that.
What a kick by Dawson. That was one of the best kicks you will ever see. He did not have to break stride, Tilthorpe. And a little dinky kick over to Fogarty, and he shouldn't miss from here. Brilliant play by Adelaide.
Where the kick was, he was going to the right, so Ballard was in the right position, but the kick came over his shoulder, didn't it? And had to get over the top of Ballard, which it did.
The perfect weight results in a set shot for Fogarty, who has his first of the afternoon. Adelaide push it out to a 29-point margin. 5-1-31 plays the Suns, 2 behinds. Time on in the opening term on Grandstand AFL. Your experts, Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan.
Inside 50s, 11 apiece, but Adelaide is just so efficient going forward. Every time Gold Coast look to go in forward, it's a loopy kick or it's a wide kick or it's a real shallow inside 50 kick, and Adelaide can just defend that better. But on the flip side is Adelaide, when they move the ball, it's going quick, it's going sharp. It's really hard for Gold Coast to stop.
Time in possession this quarter, 51%. Adelaide to the Gold Coast, 28. Marks inside 50. It says 2 apiece. I would have thought it was a little bit more. Adelaide just seemed to be in more control. The Gold Coast just can't find the target going deep with their kicks, but 2 or 3 defenders of Adelaide are able to get their hands on it, bring it to the ground, and then run it out.
Adelaide by 29 points. Now O'Brien gets a tap down. Anderson takes it away for Gold Coast to his good mate and Rowell. Comes back to his left foot. Goes down to half forward with a kick. Adelaide dominant there again. Keane taking the mark, the Irishman. Drops it in short to Nankervis.
Left foot, right foot, doesn't matter for him too, the Irishman.
Nankervis wide for Michael Annie. Down the line he goes with his kick. Witts gets to the front. O'Brien punches away. Ball on the ground. Schonberg went there. Got one in the head. Umpire called play on. Rory Laird put it over the boundary line. Ooh. Umpire says yes. I was thinking there was insufficient intent, and that's what the umpires eventually decided. Atkins will take the free kick for Gold Coast on this broadcast side at left half back. They're in trouble, the Suns, early.
47 games with the Adelaide Footy Club. In the middle of his 5-year deal, he heads up to left half forward. Atkins. Witts did well on the pack to mark in front of O'Brien. Too far out to score, has a runner on the outside, hands it off. Here's Atkins again to the top of the goal square for Gold Coast. Lukosius outnumbered 3-1 again. Keane front and square, gave it to Worrell, who sold him into immediate danger. Wrapped up in the tackle, and we'll get a ball up, 15 out.
Just the same, Aaron, of the Gold Coast. They just keep going to the same spot, congested, too many defenders, and it makes it hard for their forwards.
Tossed up, O'Brien won it down behind Witts. Put it out towards Smith, who socketed it straight to Ainsworth. He can snap off a step towards goal for Gold Coast from 30. Bit shallow in the end. Went to ground, and Michael Annie can hand it back to Keane, who launches it out towards the arc and just stayed in enough to be a boundary throw-in off hands.
You're right, Jamo. Like Atkinson, he just needed to lower his eyes and see if he could find someone a bit shorter. They just bombed it to the top of the square, and that's easy for Adelaide defenders to just get that ball on the ground, which they're doing really well.
Ball-Ace involved in another one-on-one contest with Casbolt. Again, he's struggling for breath at the moment, but he's holding up. Off the ruck contest, it comes to Anderson. Arcs around on the right foot, hooks it to full forward, and it's away to the right. Minor score, third of the afternoon for the Gold Coast. Their only 3 scores have been behinds. Adelaide 5-1, 31, 26 and a half down in the opening quarter here at the Adelaide Oval. Crows have been good. Suns have been reckless at times with their kicking.
Just maintaining possession, Crossy. 27 marks to 16 in favour of Adelaide.
Absolute rocket of an exit from Worrell. Off hands, Walker hands it off to Murphy. Beautiful dummy. Sold his opponent into absolute danger and then handed it off towards Thilthorpe, up towards the arc. Fogarty tried to launch on Ballard, who stood his ground. Comes to ground. Saligo battling with Ballard, who wins out. Exiting kick, a hit and hope, almost panicking. Straight to Thilthorpe. Dinky kick, trying to hit Schomburg, attacking edge of the square. He goes to ground on the outer side. Miller is sliding in, can't wrench it out. Head over the footy. Swallow trying to do the same. Will get a ball up. Close to half forward for the Crows. They're up by 28 points at the Docklands. Essendon lead by 11 over the West Coast Eagles.
How did Charlie Ballard not get a free on that occasion too? Darcy Fogarty just into his back, attempted a mark, came to ground and interfered, and play on.
Flanders off the ruck contest, got it to the logo on centre wing for Gold Coast. And there was a tackle on Laird there, which was both in the back and he didn't have possession. So he's got the free kick for Adelaide. Late in the opening term. Plays on now, drives it high and long, inside attacking 50. Ball is off hands, Fogarty got hands to it. Murphy tried to dodge a couple and McAndrew pulled him down for the free kick in the right back pocket for Gold Coast.
There's the talent that he shows. He can play tall, certainly quick. Great defensive work.
Gave it to McPherson, who's not really sure what to do with it. Called to play on. Thilthorpe pushed him as he exited. Tried to find Witts, and O'Brien forces it over the boundary line. Who'd have thought, gents, at the start of the day that the Bombers-Eagles game would have been better than the Crows-Suns? Adelaide's running away with it here.
Stop it.
Just plenty of time to play out.
What are the Bombers doing?
They're up by 17 now. They just kicked another, so maybe I've put the juju on West Coast. Toss back in. Witts wins it down to Anderson. Handed it to Rao. Hollins tried to get the clearance, but it's smothered by Dawson over the boundary line.
Shannon Hearn, too, for the West Coast. Just hasn't been supreme across, 18 seasons, 19 seasons? It's going to give it away. Central Districts played here in South Australia. Barossa boy.
A couple of premierships for Central District in the SANFL before he took on the AFL. So off the ruck contest, Adelaide through Murphy. Hand pass back slightly for Smith, goes forward. Fogarty had hands on it, dropped it. Andrew comes away for Gold Coast, comes out to this broadcast side with a kick, can't find a body. On the ground though, Ainsworth picks it up round the corner, has to be good. Adelaide knocks it away, picked up by Humphrey then. Humphrey with a look away hand pass, and he missed the ghost that was there anyway. And over the line it goes, and it shows that Matt Crouch is in form. Even when he's standing in the interchange gates, he got a possession then.
Adelaide have had 33 more possessions than Gold Coast, and it's not even quarter time yet.
What about Nankervis, Worrell, Michael Annie, Keane and Ball-Ace are pretty much Adelaide's defence?
Witts won it down. Crumming is Smith.
30 games between all 5 of them.
Put his body on the line against Rosas. Lost the footy, and now a tackle laid by Anderson holds things up. Wrenching it out is Saligo. Uses Crouch. Now Worrell down the line. Great kick. Just hit Fogarty inside the field of play. Literally on the paint, really. Flirted with that boundary line. They're forward of centre wing broadcast side, Adelaide. Fogarty heads towards the 50. Charging out is Thilthorpe. Caught a late nudge. Didn't jump in the end. Stayed down and got the footy anyway. He's gang tackled though and stripped of it by Rao. Gets it to Andrew. Exiting kick back where it came from. Bouncing to Casbolt, who decides to escort it over the boundary line. It'll be tossed back into play. True centre. Adelaide up by 28 points, and the Suns don't have a goal in this opening term.
clearances are pretty level. It's just when Gold Coast get the ball, there just doesn't seem to be any system with the footy. So they're just kicking it and hoping.
Yeah, 34 more disposals to Adelaide. Their efficiency has dropped away to 64%, the Gold Coast. They just can't execute.
So off the ball free kick as Swallow took down Dawson in the after the ruck contest. So Dawson now with the free kick on centre wing for Adelaide. Puts it inside 50. Huge pack, great mark, pulled down by Thilthorpe. Contested grab in the middle of a 5-man pack. So 45-degree angle, 45 metres out for Riley Thilthorpe.
And that's where Adelaide, and particularly all the supporters involved, would want to see Riley do more of that. He's 200 centimetres and he can just clunk him when he gets up at the football. And the concern for the Gold Coast too is their enthusiasm around the footy. They're a little bit undisciplined on that occasion, having a shot on goal. 7-3 free kicks in favour of Adelaide.
Thilthorpe, just before siren time, comes in. He's away to the left with a kick and right on the line with Snow. He was over the line. And so the minor score for Thilthorpe, 31 down in the opening quarter, 5-2-32 Adelaide. The Gold Coast just the 3 behinds.
Electric start for the Adelaide Footy Club. Goal scorers across the board and intensity around the ground. Hitting the scoreboard, Murphy, Crouch, Walker, McAdam and Fogarty. And the Suns, for the second time this season, don't have a major in the opening term. The margin, 29 points rather. Got there in the end, Crossy. 5-2-32 plays the Suns, 3 behinds. Great to have you with us on ABC Radio, Sports Digital, News Radio and the ABC Listen app around the country. This is Grandstand AFL.
With the ABC Listen app, you can take the footy with you wherever you go. Off to walk the dog?
Take the footy.
Going camping?
Take the footy.
Picnic in the park?
Take the footy.
ABC Sport's expert coverage of the AFL
Incredible grab.
and the NRL. Every goal, try, mark and tackle, live and commercial free.
He bounces it through.
So whatever you're up to,
Take the footy.
take the footy with you on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Great tackle from Swallow, and here come the Suns. Anderson played onto advantage, was tackled as he tried to race out of the 50, and is caught holding the ball by Lockie Murphy. One of the rising stars for Gold Coast, makes a crucial error early. 2-year extension during the week. Murphy comes in, leans back on the kick, straight as an arrow. Adelaide with the first goal of the afternoon.
Walker takes it out of the ruck contest, gets past a couple, slides into goal off the left foot. Oh, Taylor Walker. How old is he? That's ridiculous. Crows, 2 goals on the board. Schomburg now looking inside 50, takes the option of inside. Some Crouch, oh, it might be 50, it is. Took a strong mark, King came in and then knocked it out of his hands late. And Crouch will go virtually to the top of the goal square.
Just silly.
Just don't need to do it, was there? Like, that's always a 50. It's just undisciplined, and Gold Coast haven't shown up today. Adelaide are all over them at the moment, and this could get real ugly for Gold Coast.
Welcome back, Mount Crouch. You've had problems, but you've made the most of it in this team. Kicks a goal. Adelaide have 4 on the board.
Exit for Adelaide comes to Keys. Spun a full 360 but hands it to Crouch. And now Dawson. There's the trifecta. He'll head up towards the arc. Thilthorpe back with the flight. Took it against Ballard, who couldn't make anything of it. Chips in the path of Fogarty, who marks 20 out. Disposes of his opponent as well in the process. Excellent delivery there from Jordan Dawson. The perfect weight results in a set shot for Fogarty, who has his first of the afternoon.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Their season's on the line, but the Jekyll and Hyde Suns have reared their ugly head at the Adelaide Oval. 3 behinds in the opening term to Adelaide's 5-2-32. A 29-point margin has Adelaide rocking and rolling as they fix their eyes firmly on September action. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you to call the game. Your experts, Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan, with Liz Walsh down on the boundary. Gents, it was a masterclass from the Crows.
Well, look, they come out of the gates early, didn't they? Like we called they would, but Gold Coast their efficiency with the footy going forward. Adelaide are plus 600 metres gained. So what that means is when Adelaide get the ball, they are going forward and they're going quick. When Gold Coast get the ball, they're not sure what they're doing with it. Their contest work's actually okay. Like they got back in that game towards the end of the quarter, but just if it keeps going the way it's going, this is going to be a 10-goal loss for Gold Coast because you just can't score. They can't get inside their 50, and when they do, it's inefficient.
And when they've won the footy, and you touched on it, Brokes, they go through the middle of the ground. They're trying to open up the ground and trying to find, but they can't execute. They've turned it over maybe on 4 occasions. When they do go forward inside 50s, 15-13 at quarter time, they just keep going to the same spot. So Adelaide just need to get up, numbers around the football, get their fist to it, and then once it comes to ground, they're running it out way too easy. I'm not seeing when the Gold Coast get it, just the overlap run support from defence. They're actually just going down the line, or as we touched on, going through the middle and missing their teammates. So all the hard work is coming undone, and then the football just comes straight back in the other way. So they're continually under pressure, and the Adelaide at the moment, they're just finding the targets up forward. Clearly 5 goals, and the Gold Coast didn't even look like getting one in that quarter.
And let's take nothing away from Adelaide. They are one of the highest pressure teams in the AFL, and they have brought it today. They're shutting down switches. They're getting up at the ball carrier 1-to-1. They're tackling. They're locking the ball in. But yet when Adelaide get it, they are murdering Gold Coast on their turnovers. So Adelaide have looked really sharp in this first quarter, and there's some danger signs already for the Gold Coast. 40 more disposals in that quarter, Aaron, to Adelaide. Adelaide at 75% disposal efficiency. The Gold Coast dropped away to 64, and so that's been sort of their Achilles heel at the moment. So Flanders with 8, Will Powell with 6, Witts, the big ruckman, with 6 disposal, Ainsworth, Atkins and Alice, McAndrew in defence with 5, Matty Rowell with 5. So just not enough of their ball winners and the players they want to get their hands on the football, winning enough possession.
The big one for me is Noah Anderson. So in the absence of Tuke Miller when they last played, 28 touches, 2 goals up north. And today he's only got 5 in the opening term and hasn't really impacted with any of them either.
Well, David Swallow's a star as well. He only had the 1 disposal in that quarter, 2 tackles. And Nick Holman is another player that's come from South Australia. We touched on out at Central Districts come here. When he's up and about, he is sort of the barometer of the Gold Coast with the pressure that he applies when so that high half forward.
Adelaide by 29 points over at the Docklands. The real Essendon has stood up 23 points the margin up against West Coast as they head to half time. In the middle, O'Brien wins it down straight towards Laird. Gave it off to Crouch and now Dawson. They're working so well together. On the 45, he spots Keys just behind right half forward. Kicking to the northern end, the left of your radio dial. Keys heads in. Andrew floats across with the big fist. Front and square was Anderson. He's wrapped up by Laird. And we'll get a ball up. 35 out, slight angle to the right.
Gee, Adelaide's clearance work out of that centre bounce was sharp, wasn't it? They're starting to get really good continuity, those 3 in Laird, Dawson and Crouch.
Witts takes the ball out of the ruck contest, clears the 50 only just. Hinge on the ground, just knocked it back to Dawson. Quick kick inside 50, Fogarty takes the mark. Calls that it was touched, but Fogarty took it. And he will go back with Ballard standing on the mark for his 2nd goal, if he kicks straight.
As good as Charlie Ballard is, you just can't leave Darcy Fogarty with the space that he needs. He likes to run up at it. The kick was a bit of a floater, but he's big and strong, difficult to get around. He just couldn't close the distance down.
So Fogarty's just slightly to the right of the goals. In he comes, little hitch start, and then flows into his kick, and no problems for Darcy Fogarty. He has his 2nd. The Crows have started the 2nd quarter as they started the 1st. And 1 minute in, they find themselves with 6 goals, 2 on the board, 38. Gold Coast still stranded without a goal, 3 behinds.
Well, the Gold Coast backline just ball watched then. It was a dump kick out. When a dump kick goes out of your backline, you've got to get up on your forward. They just stood there and watched the footy. Dump kick comes back in, and Fogarty standing in front takes an easy uncontested chest mark.
Hate to be glass half empty, Jamo, but do we need to have a serious look at why Matt Crouch has not been playing in this team? Because the 3 of them, they look like they're totally in sync between Dawson, Laird and Matt Crouch.
I think Jordan Dawson certainly added a bit more to the midfield, hasn't he? Big body. And you got 2 left footers in there. Rory Laird is the other one. So for the Gold Coast, Matty Rowell's in there at the moment. David Swallow Witts has taken the ruck, and I think you've got Noah Anderson. So they've almost got their number one midfield in there without Tuke Miller playing today.
Just on Crouch, he's going at 90% too. For as a midfielder, that's incredible.
35-point margin. O'Brien wins it down. Rowell jumps into the air, grabbed the footy. Only found Saligo on his way down, but he burst his way through like a bull. Got a handball out of a couple of tackles. Witts tried to get it back. Nankervis was waiting. Roses on him. And another ball up to come closer towards half forward for Gold Coast. It's half-time at the Docklands. Essendon with a 23-point lead over West Coast. 7-8-50 plays 4-3-27.
Ball goes in the air again. Anderson smuggled the ball out, then got a kick away. Hinge went back with a flight, couldn't take the mark. Picked up by Casbolt, and then he gave it to Flanders into the pocket with his kick. King got it. Hand pass back to Roses. Had a step, had a look, and kicked another minor score for the Gold Coast. 4 on the board, 4 points on the board only through 3 minutes of this second term. They trail by 34 points, the Gold Coast.
That's an opportunity. Sorry, Jamo. You have those opportunities. You've got to kick them. On the road, you have to kick those goals.
12 goals, 16 for the season now. Mel Roses.
Another blood rule for Matt Rowell, who can't seem to keep that cut in check. He's held things up.
I think it's a different one.
He's fighting hard there, unlike a couple of his teammates. And I do hope that in Milan, Damien Hardwick doesn't have access to any AFL coverage right now, because he wouldn't like what he's seeing. The exit, not a great one. Worrell's kick straight to Collins, who sends it back in for the Gold Coast Suns. Top of the goal square, bounced off Casbolt. Waiting for the footy was Hinge. He uses Jones, tumbling exit to Walker. Nothing really ahead of him. He'll head towards the square. Darting back is McAdamy, can't get there in time. McAndrew with the intercept mark. In the back half for the Suns, trailing by 34 points.
How clean is Taylor Walker's touch at the moment?
McAndrew goes 45 towards the interchange gates. Ainsworth with the mark there. Backing up. Gold Coast obviously trying to keep a little bit of possession. Take a little time to steady. Down the line it goes. Offhand straight to Smith. Had to put it on the boot. Straight back to where it came from. And another result for Andrew going back. Took the mark. Inboard he went with a kick. It was very short. Lemons took it. Lemons goes inboard to Powell. Just inside the centre square, but behind centre wing. Crosses to the eastern side of the ground, finds Ballard, who goes short in turn. And Flanders goes over the top to Atkins.
Atkins heads towards the arc, spots Roses, 55 out. Tightest of angles, left half forward. He'll centre his kick into the pocket. Worrell at the back. Thrusted it through for a minor score over the top of Casbolt. Gold Coast 5 behinds. Adelaide 6-2-38, 5 minutes into the second term.
It was better play by Gold Coast, wasn't it? They chipped it around, they switched the ball, used the fat side, come back in the corridor. They're just getting their hands on the footy and starting to get into the game a bit. So that quarter-time resets helped them.
Worrell short to Smith on this broadcast side. He then arcs and plays on. Down the line he goes. Ball finds its way to the back. On the ground, still being fought for. Picked up by Humphrey, and straight on him was McAdam with the pressure. Forces a ball up near the interchange gates. It's been a struggle for the Gold Coast. Let's go to the boundary, Liz Walsh.
Yeah, Matt Rowell's had a fair bit of blood coming from his head there. It's really been patched up by the doctors pretty quickly, and he's ready to come back on.
Nice little handball chain for the Crows, but the exit, not a great one. Laird tried to find Walker. Collins beat him to it.
Yeah, well played. Sam Collins, good defender.
Short pass to Powell.
Got the 1960s retro haircut and moustache, Aaron.
There's a couple of those out there, the Suns. They're certainly distinguishable by whatever mop they're rocking. Powell centres his kick. Andrew.
What mop do you rock?
More than you. Andrew on the 45 to Powell. Turns through the broadcast wing. Lukosius presenting. Mark's too far out to score. Almost behind right half forward. He'll square it up. Heading to centre half forward. Finds Farah. Haven't seen a lot of him this afternoon. Loads up with a low ball towards the top of the goal square. Only favoured Keane. How has this Adelaide backline come together so quickly? The alarm bells last week when Jordan Butts walked off with a broken foot. No Tom Doedee, no Nick Murray, but between Keane, we've also got Borlase and even Worrell to an extent. They've had more than 20 touches as we hit the opening stages of this second term. A 33-point margin the way of Adelaide.
Well, and it does help when Gold Coast keep kicking it back to you uncontestedly. So they are getting more of the footy, Gold Coast, but their efficiency going forward is still not up to standard.
Adelaide chipping it around at the back. Eventually, Crouch forced to go down the line with a kick. Off hands it comes at half forward. Brodie Smith picked it off the pack. Down the line he goes quickly with a left footer. Collins intercepted, sent it back towards the interchange gates. Off hands it came to Holman. Holman with a hand pass over the top. Rosas took it, was immediately nabbed, turns it over, and then Hinge tries to go wide for Thilthorpe. Oh, he kept it in. Good play by the big man. Hinge kept running near the interchange gates inside half forward with the kick. McAndrew did well off the pack with one hand, took the ball, spreads it across the centre square. Coming across there for Adelaide was Ball Ace. Again did well in his first match.
Jones over the top to Murphy now from 55. He heads for home. Didn't have the carry. McAdam charging across though. Brought it to ground. Shrugs the tackle. Hands it off to Dawson. Caught in the sandwich. He's coughed it up. The exit from Hollins. A wobbler out to right half back. McPherson gathers on the bounce, but there's nothing ahead of him. He'll have to kick a rolling ball in hope. King got rid of Keane. Turns, no one's in the 50. Holman now for the Suns, hands it off to McPherson. Gave King a bit of time to get there, and he takes the mark. 48 out, 45-degree angle to the right.
Great play by King. One of crucial one-on-one in front of us. Gave the handball and ran so hard back inside 50 because they didn't have anybody, and he gets rewarded for his effort with a shot on goal. But great work by your big tall forward. Gold Coast playing a lot better this quarter.
Missed a tricky shot in the opening term. This one's a tiny bit easier, but certainly will be a lot of work. Kicking to the Riverbank stand end. Boot to ball on the arc, but it starts right and never looks like coming back. So much so that it's hit the right hand behind post and out of bounds on the full. The margin stays at 33. Adelaide 6-2-38. Gold Coast 5 behind. 9 minutes into the second term.
You might think this is a little weird, but there's two gaps at the city end of Adelaide Oval. He's right there in one of the gaps, and seriously, the breeze comes through there. So when you're in that area, you feel like you've actually got to put it far right.
So it went short from Miller to Laird, then down the line, and then Fogarty in the middle of the pack almost took a hanger. It's off hands and now shared through the hands to Fogarty. Off his left foot under pressure, got it down to half forward. McAndrew's been a wall back there. Picked it up, gave it off, and the kick inside from Powell. Well taken by Witts. A two-grabber, the big ruckman. Goes into the corridor, finds Anderson, whips a hand pass straight away to Atkins. Atkins forward of centre down to half forward with a kick and picked out Flanders, who was bumped, dropped the ball, and the umpire said that's a mark, and now he just puts it into the pocket. Miller goes back, spoils it away from Ainsworth, and Ball Ace mops up over the boundary line in the left back or left forward pocket for Gold Coast.
It was better build-up, wasn't it? Atkins, instead of bombing the ball, he lowered his eyes and hit another short 15. Better entry by Gold Coast, but just couldn't get the cherry on the cake at that 0-30.
Still chasing their first goal. Toss back in. Casbolt gets rid of O'Brien. Should have gone for home. Instead, he retreats with a handball to Humphrey. Now Ellis has a snap. He's 35 out. It's curling towards the goal face. Smashed through for a minor score.
Might have been over the line, Aaron.
We're going to get a goal review. Keane was there with the double fist. And we're going to get a score review to see if it was actually a major.
Ellis was taking high fives.
Yeah, I think it's a goal.
Oh, gee. Just over. The frame. The first frame is on the paint, and unfortunately, as the contact's made, it's just over.
Yep, I think you'll find that'll be the Gold Coast first goal.
Score review coming in at the Adelaide Oval. And Brandon Ellis finally gets Gold Coast a major. It took a quarter and 11 minutes, but the Suns have their first goal. 1-5-11, Adelaide 6-2-38. And the score review gets them over the line. Can it spark a resurgence?
Well, they're just getting their hands on the footy a lot more. So they're plus 10 in possessions, but the way they're using it, they're starting to change angles, starting to hit that uncontested marks, and they're not bombing the ball inside 50. They're looking for shorter options. It hasn't been efficient yet, but they look a lot better when they go forward. Hence why they've had a few more inside 50s to Adelaide this quarter, and they've definitely come to play this quarter. So good on them for resetting at quarter time.
Yeah, to your point, Brogues, time in possession this quarter, the last 10 minutes, 52%. The Gold Coast only 26 to Adelaide.
So what have Adelaide learned from round 12 in Darwin? And they got run down after having a good lead against the Gold Coast, who ultimately won by 25 points. Well, in the middle, they're starting it well again. Crouch earning a free kick after tackling Rowell. Hand passes it off straight away. Michael Annie inside forward 50. Casbolt went back off his hands though. At the front, Rochelle snapped wide and out on the full. Missed everything.
You'd just like to see Rowell surge that. He's just trying to do too much in traffic, and that's his game. But if you just surge that and gain territory, the ball's inside Gold Coast 50, not going the other way with holding the ball.
Power with a short kick to Flanders in defensive 50, then gets it back. He's running out of room though. Laird darted across to cut him off. The exit, under pressure, only finds Schomburg, who tucks the footy under his arm, heads into the scoreboard pocket and hits Saligo on the charge. Tight angle, 25 out. Jake Saligo will have a crack of a poor exit from Gold Coast.
Well, that's the issue that we spoke about at quarter time. They just can't get overlap. They can't get run and rebound out of the defensive area. Will Powell's kick was just a floater. There was 3 or 4 on to Schoenberg. He ran through the middle of them and got out wide and was able just to lace out.
7 goals, 8 for the year. Saligo leans back and threads the needle. Superb finish. Adelaide back up by 33. 7-2, 44, plays 1-5-11. And the Crows have 6 individual goal scorers midway through the second term. Your experts, Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan.
What a kick. Is that Eddie Beats' pocket over there?
It is indeed.
So I'm sure a lot of the boys practice those goals over there, but he's got a lot of talent, Saligo. He had a rest a few weeks ago. He's come back into the side and makes a bit of an impact the last couple of weeks, but he looks really sharp today. But, yeah, like you just said, Jamo, Gold Coast keep, when it's in their defensive 50, there's no system coming out of their back line, and they just kick it out and can't get any run and overlap from their defensive 50.
Luke Peddle is the other player too that they've managed him. He's played 18 out of 20. He's just sort of a bit banged up. Rochelle coming back in after the 2-week suspension, and Bourlays continues to win the football.
Witts with a tap in the middle. Crouch followed up though, hand pass forward to Laird. Inside 50 with a kick. Walker got his man under the ball and took a strong mark. Casbolt didn't have much of a chance there. So Big Walker, 33 years of age, signed for another season, and why not? He's in absolute peach form.
Oh, it's just one-on-one. You spoke about it, Brogues, too. To be able to, for the Gold Coast, King, Casbolt, these types of players have just got to get the space and one-on-one as opposed to the congested contest, and that's what Taylor Walker was able to do.
So Walker, for his second of the afternoon, stabs at it and misses to the right. That's dangerous territory, 20 out for Walker. He likes some 40 out and have a little bit of a challenge. So minor score for Adelaide, extends the lead to 34 points though. 15 into the second term on Grandstand AFL.
It's a big miss, that one.
Another rush dinky kick. Atkins got it to Collins, then gets it back as they exit through the outer side. Up towards centre wing. Rosas broke away from Nankervis and bursts away. Taking a couple of bounces, he'll hand it inside to Ainsworth. From 60, heads to the left forward pocket, trying to get free as King. Keane was all over him, comes to ground. Swallow knocked it forward. King got a boot to ball. They're claiming it's touched as it rolls through, and we'll get another score review. Gold Coast goals haven't come easy this afternoon.
Riley O'Brien, we spoke about his ability to be able to get deep. He was the player that's going to contest the kick off the ground and maybe got his hand to it, and I don't know. Like the
may have actually split straight through O'Brien's hands.
Oh, Ruckman.
What's he doing back there?
Oh, God, he's just singing his praises. But Ben King got his foot to it, already kicked 2 behinds. What do you think, Crossy?
I think it's touched. But anyway, we'll wait and see what other angles they can come up with. I think it's touched.
It doesn't really deviate the angle, though, does it?
Looks like a goal.
Yeah, I reckon it's gone through his hands, hasn't it?
Seeing every possible angle to try and confirm this, and Gold Coast, boy, do they need it. This one looks pretty clear-cut, Brogues. I think this is a goal.
Review complete. Looking at these angles, there is insufficient evidence to say whether the ball is
It's a goal.
How can you say insufficient? Like on that replay, right
insufficient
there
evidence.
and
Yeah.
then, it looks as if he hasn't got his hands to it. That's not insufficient.
It's not as clear-cut as... Yeah. I mean, it's as close to clear-cut as it can get, but I wouldn't say it's definitive. Either way, a goal to the Gold Coast Suns, their second of the afternoon. They reduced the deficit to 28 points, 2-5-17 to 7-3-45. Ben King's on the board as we approach time on.
Well, Roses, he takes a mark out the back on the far side wing and just played on. Made something out of nothing, which gives your forwards a chance when you move the ball quick, and they had genuine one-on-ones in the goal. So albeit it was a soccer goal, but it was a chaos ball coming in, which caused Adelaide to defend a lot harder than what they've been doing because Gold Coast have been so slow going inside their 50. So really good play by Gold Coast, and you know they're playing really well this quarter, and we might have a game on our hands here.
Just while I'm looking at those stats for the quarter, Matt Crouch picking up 7 in this second quarter. O'Brien with the knockdown towards Laird. Witts followed up for Gold Coast, forces another ball up, still within the larger of the centre circles.
If it wasn't for Mac Andrew too in the defence of the Gold Coast, they'd be a lot further down.
Ball goes down. There's Matt Crouch again. He's just caught, but he got the hand pass off to Dawson, who came through, gave the hand pass to Hinge off the back of the square. Michael Annie has it, flares wide with his kick. Farah pushes away from Keys, but can't control the ball over the line. Eastern boundary will get a throw in.
Dawson's ability to get the hands out when he was getting tackled was just elite, wasn't it? And that's why he's a gun player and captain of the footy club.
Whistle before the boundary throw in, another blood rule, and it's Matt Rowell again.
Not.
3 times this afternoon. The crowd's getting...
We got a bleeder.
They're getting frustrated.
So
it's not his fault.
So surely he gets the mummy look now.
Yeah.
He gets the... Why haven't they done this?
The old Chris Judd.
It's coming from the same... It's a cut above his right eye.
Yeah, well, this time it's certainly the same. Last time he came off, he did have some blood on the left side of his neck, but yeah.
Might check in with Liz in a moment, see what she's seeing down there. In the meantime, boundary thrown on the outer side. Adelaide up by 27. Off the ruck contest, Witts soccers forward. Roses goes to ground trying to gather against Murphy. Throwing his body in is Hollands as well for the Suns. Wrenched out by Crouch. Little 1-2 with Keys. Off a step, skies it towards right half forward. Sitting underneath it, Farah, brave. Could have been crunched. Takes the intercept mark. And centres his kick. He'll find Anderson close to the defensive 50 arc. Anderson
Looks back to the middle of the arc and finds Powell. He tries to pick off a central kick and misses completely. Chase Jones comes across, gets the loose ball. Handball across to Schonberg, goes into the pocket, and gee, Phil Thorpe thought he had his name on it. Farah came across the front, took a nice defensive mark. Had to. Farah now comes out to Mac Andrew. Laird puts a bit of pressure on him, but the ball arrived nicely for Mac Andrew. Drops it in short now. And Flanders has it just outside defensive 50 for the Gold Coast.
David Swallow, still only maybe. No, the kick was intended for him, but he's only had the one disposal in the second quarter and one in the first. Very quiet.
Called it well, Jamo. Cut off by Hinge. Inside to Schonberg. Now it's centre half forward. Keys lowers the eyes. Darted it with a spear towards Dawson. Just spoilt away. Goes to ground. He's fighting for it. Up with Hollands. Putting his body in as Ballard as well. They'll lean into Laird, who fell into the footy holding the ball. Free kick to go Gold Coast way in defensive 50. Down to Liz.
Yeah, there's a mummy incoming, guys. I can confirm that cut on Matt Rao's head is different to the one that was just patched up for him. But yeah, he's got lots of bandages on his head now.
You could almost pull his shorts up over his head. They're that high too, though.
And so I went across to Powell, and as he cleared out, Brodie Smith went back for the flight of the ball and took a mark. Now he's kicked it long inside forward 50. Mac Andrew had it once, twice, and taken down. McAdam with the tackle for Adelaide. It remains in Adelaide's left forward pocket. It's been camped in the Adelaide forward line for the past couple of minutes. Just Brodie Smith going back. He's in good form too, the veteran now.
Every disposal from the Suns just looks wobbly. Witts took it out of the ruck. Fane giving it to Swallow, then exits with the kick to right half back. Off hands, Flanders curls it up towards the benches. McPherson the target. Nankervis will knock it over the boundary line. Over at the Docklands, third term underway. Essendon lead West Coast by 29 points. Here it is the Crows by 27. Gold Coast took a quarter and 11 minutes to hit the scoreboard. And now they have 2 for the afternoon.
After the right contest, Schonberg again deep inside forward 50. Thilthorpe brought it to ground, followed up over a couple of players, released a hand pass, and the umpire said not quickly enough. So Ballard will take the free kick. In the right back pocket, now called to play on. Doesn't quite get around. Thilthorpe got him, swung him, hand passed it out. Laird takes it. Forward hand pass, Rochelle under pressure. He lost it. Laird came back again to Thilthorpe. Taken without the ball, the umpire called play on. McAdams there, so's Rochelle. All under pressure. A lot of pressure from the Suns, and eventually the umpire says, give it to me.
Oh, it was great recovery by the Gold Coast. That should have been a certain goal for Adelaide. Ballard played on and in all sorts, but their ability to get back on it allowed and shut down the Adelaide forwards.
Witts wins it down through Collins, though. Keys was waiting at the back. Check side from 30. Straight through the sticks. Excellent crumb and goal from Ben Keys. And Adelaide back up by 34 points. 8-3-51 plays 2-5-17. 23 minutes into the second term on Grandstand AFL.
I was just about to call. Gold Coast really need to hang on here. Adelaide are pressing. Gold Coast need to win the quarter, take something into half time, and they let a back 50 relatively easy stoppage goal. Keys just ran through there with nobody on him. As you can see here, there was no coverage at the back of the stoppage, and he could have basically ran that into the goal square. So Gold Coast just a lapse in concentration. They've been so good this quarter, and nothing kills you more than a back 50 stoppage goal in time on.
Well, that previous 30 seconds, they had about 8 tackles. They just didn't give Adelaide the space. They got to them to shut it down, and that seriously hurts.
What a resurrection for Ben Keys, delisted, I should say, by Brisbane in 2019. Third in the Crows' best and fairest last season. Back in the middle, O'Brien crashes it out. And then it came to Laird, inside 50 with his kick. Thilthorpe off his hand, straight down. Thilthorpe following up on the ground now. It was picked up by Collins. Fogarty threw him to ground. And the umpire says without the ball. Well, he had it when he got him.
That is insane, Crossy.
He just knocked it out of his hands as he tackled him. And now it's a 50 as well for disputing the decision. 50's become 100 just about then. Collins wide with the kick, and it's going to come for a short pass, wide with the kick, and then Atkins has it, still inside the centre square for Gold Coast.
Atkins launches one into the Suns attacking 50, floating across Keane with the fist. Fumbled by Nankervis. Flanders gets boot to ball. Not heavy enough. Mitch Hinge back with the flight. Lost it, but managed to compose himself. Gave it to Smith, who missed him on the return. Boundary throw in right forward pocket. And Jamo, just to go back to that free kick, Fogarty was slung to ground. I thought the free kick was going to go his way. Which is why they're probably quite upset, the Crows. So toss back in. Attacking 50 for the Suns. Witts wins it down straight to Laird. Handball back to Saligo, running out of room. Tried to lift the shoulder to force a high tackle on Rao. The umpire wasn't falling for it. Boundary throw in to come, 25 out.
Well, it looked a high free kick from where we're sitting.
He's lifted the shoulder into that. 100%.
He has. So the ball comes back into play. Casbolt with a hand pass released to Humphrey. He's taken down in a tackle by Laird. Ball up.
Did you get any sleep last night? I've heard you from 11 o'clock today. You've woken up and you're angry and you want to take everyone on.
We get another ball up inside forward 50 for the Gold Coast. Rowell took it off the pack. Hand pass into a little bit of open space, which is soon crowded up. And Nankervis with a strong tackle on Holman of the Gold Coast forces another ball up. It's straight out in front of the big sticks, about 40 metres out for Gold Coast.
This is good for Gold Coast, getting repeat stoppages in their forward 50 and just taking the sting out of the game and playing time in their forward half.
Witts was doing up his bootlaces, so he didn't contest the ruck contest, and Adelaide break away. Millerer hands it to Hinge. To the broadcast wing, Fogarty's outnumbered, wrapped up by Ballard. Ball beats both of them. And he tackles Collins in the end, Fogarty over the boundary line.
He didn't throw him to ground that time.
He was very cautious. So boundary throwing to come in front of the benches.
17-11 tackles in this quarter in favour of Adelaide.
Over at the Docklands, Bombers by 30. Third term there. O'Brien wins it down. Crouch on the bounce. Hands it to Laird. Kicks around the body. Flirting with the boundary line. It bounces to Collins, who runs into a brick wall. Brought down by Fogarty. Thilthorpe hands it over the top to Dawson. Caught in the Ballard tackle, but got it back to Thilthorpe. Shank of a kick across the goal face. Spoilt away by Andrew. Now Keys wrapped up by Hollands. 15 out. Right forward pocket. We'll get a ball up, rather, but
I reckon that was intended.
That kick.
Yeah,
I thought he was going for home, and it almost curled right.
But McAndrew, his height and ability to get to that football and intercept.
Ball in the contest, or for the ruck contest, comes to Soligo. Look away hand pass. Smith was involved, so was Crouch again. Murphy shows and then goes, and with the left foot, top of the square, couldn't find a mark. Anderson picks it up for Gold Coast, gave it to Ballard by hand, and then out of defensive 50 for the Gold Coast. Ellis runs onto a loose ball. Speculator hand pass, that was poor. Picked up by Nankervis, sends it long for Adelaide into the forward pocket. O'Brien was across there. Fogarty with the crumb. Strong, kept control. Hand pass inboard. Keys got the left foot to the ball under pressure, straight across the goal face and out of bounds in the scoreboard pocket. Adelaide pressing late in the opening half. 34 points is the lead.
Gold Coast just need to hang on here. Here's another back 50 stoppage. They need to get a man and lock the ball down or in and not let Adelaide score.
Toss back in. Thilthorpe battling with Witts. The Sun ruckman won it down towards Anderson. Again, just a quick exit. Didn't really look. Off the pack, Nankervis for the Crows. Uses Laird. Then Smith. Back to Michael Annie. High ball. Charging out as McAdam. O'Brien was there as well. Off hands. Nankervis fumbles. Then becomes the tackler holding up Humphrey. Spilled to Millerer. Breaks off a couple. Gets boot to ball at the last possible moment. And it bounces straight to Ballard, who launches it with a huge torp all the way to the outer side. But it's cut off. Borlays gets around the veteran Casbolt in his debut. Diving forward, takes the intercept mark. Inside to Hinge. Another entry for Adelaide. Fogarty was late. Went to ground, and Hollands is wrapped up in a tackle. High. Free kick to go Gold Coast way in defensive 50.
What about that one-on-one by Borlays? He just threw Casbolt to the ground. Casbolt's 120 kilos.
Just having a look too at Borlays, his size. He's 192 centimetres, 101 kilo. So he's got him in the weight, and he's done it again, out-muscled him under the footy.
Got under the footy himself. Gold Coast takes it away through Rao, close to the boundary line. Good left foot kick down to Rosas, who takes the market. Half forward, quickly inside forward 50. Hinge comes across in front of King, who was on the lead and looked likely to get it. Gave the hand pass back to Murphy. Tries to clear the area. Rao got one high as he went in on the ball. King got him. Rao then passes centrally. Borlace was awake to it. Ball went to ground, and then Humphrey off the right foot snaps under pressure for the minor score. Crowd right into the game. The home crowd very happy with that minor score. 8-3-51 the Crows. Gold Coast slipping to 2-6-18. We've crossed over 30 minutes in this second term.
Just composure. Gold Coast just composed. Matty Rao just go back off the mark and hit a little 15-metre kick. He just played on into nothing.
Thilthorpe with one arm has juggled the exit in the pack. Launches it up towards the 50. Fogarty broke away from Farah. Took it back with the flight from 45. A low spear, but it's hit the left-hand goalpost. Gee, that was some superb footy from Darcy Fogarty. Edged out his opponent. Turn and put on the afterburners. Couldn't finish. Margin 34 points Adelaide's way as we close in on half-time.
I think he wanted to go to Shane McAdam too, but McAndrew was able to shut it down.
Gold Coast exiting defence. Anderson gave a hand pass over the top. Humphrey was under pressure now. Atkins is under pressure. Got it towards centre wing out in the eastern side. Flanders now plays on towards half forward. Lead up by Casbolt ahead of Borlace. Arcs around on the right foot. Inside forward 50. Lukosius slides in with a chest mark. And shouldn't be a problem for Jack Lukosius. He's a very good kick. He's only about 35, 40 metres out. And all but straight in front.
Much better play. The leader led at the kicker, forced a 15-metre kick, lowered their eyes going inside 50, and we have Lukosius having a relatively easy set shot 30 metres out, but the build-up was better. 15-metre low uncontested marks.
So Jack Lukosius, the former Woodville West Torrens player, comes in and punches the air very quickly. He was happy with that. He is such a beautiful kick. Gold Coast hasn't had many opportunities from that range today. Jack Lukosius kicks their third of the afternoon. 3-6-24 plays Adelaide, 8-4-52, 32 minutes down in this second term on Grandstand AFL.
It was beautiful play by Rory Atkins. He's actually played really well so far in the game today. He's going at 100% efficiency. He's using the ball really well. I reckon the first quarter he was bombing the ball inside 50. He got the ball at half back and had two little possessions where he just hit a little lead up, went again, hit another little lead up, and it just forced Adelaide's defenders to come up and defend the forwards, and the forwards, Gold Coast forwards, were able to have a little gap on their defenders.
I think I'm right that he's in his third year of the 5-year, Rory Atkins. So he's
around 400k a year.
Yeah, needs to give the Gold Coast solid return.
O'Brien won it down. Here's Rao on the headband, shrugging off a couple of tackles, but time will beat him. It's been a half dominated by the home side. Adelaide up by 28 points, 8-4-52, plays 3-6-24. The goal scorers for them, 2 to Fogarty, singles to McAdam, Saligo, Walker, Murphy, Keys, and Matt Crouch has his first in 3 years. His last goal came in round 16 of 2020. And for the Suns, all individual for them, Ellis, Lukosius and Ben King. See what the Suns have to offer with their season on the line. A loss would essentially write them out of finals calculations. And they haven't turned up acknowledging, I guess, that situation. They're not fighting for their campaign. Over at the Docklands, Bombers by 24 over the Eagles. They're midway through the third term there. And if you do want to hear it, jump on the ABC Listen app and hit the AFL button. Your experts to break down the opening half, Premiership players Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan.
Well, look, Gold Coast were way better that quarter.
Yep.
They just got the ball in hand and they were efficient in between the arcs. They still had some issues going forward, but they had the ball in hand and they forced Adelaide to defend a bit more compared to the first quarter. So if they can just tidy up some of their inside 50 play, they could have kicked another 2 or 3 goals. So, but on the flip side, Adelaide, every time they go forward, they look like they're going to score. So that's the difference in the game so far. Like, contest works okay. That both midfielders are getting a little bit of the ball, probably Adelaide a little bit more, but it's just the efficiency for is the difference in the game. And I think Gold Coast are playing a better brand to challenge Adelaide in the third quarter, but they're just a little bit off from an efficiency point of view.
Yeah, well, that last passage of play, as you called it, was probably the best way. So they started off maintaining possession the second quarter. They wanted to keep the footy away from Adelaide. They were able to maintain possession and get inside their 50 and do it on a regular occurrence, but they just weren't executing, as we spoke about in that first quarter too. And Adelaide were able to do it, and they probably levelled the quarter out, 3-3 to 3-2. So won the quarter by 1 point, but their ability to be able to just maintain their back line. So if you have a look at Collins, has done a reasonable job on Taylor Walker. You can talk about Mac Andrews' job, the ability to win the football and take it airily as well and then run it out. It's been a bit they've just floated footy out of the defence, haven't they? And the pressure that they were under that last 5 or 10 minutes when Adelaide had it deep in their forward line, they were just bombing away and Adelaide just couldn't get the hands. And I thought that passage of play before Ben Keys got that goal was probably the best defensive work that the Gold Coast had done. They really lost the football, but then just got back and shut Adelaide down too. So a vast improvement on the first quarter, certainly on the scoreboard, but around the ground. And again, if you look at a couple of the players that are down at the moment, I think still I want to see Nick Holman win a fair bit more of the football. Jack Lukosius just needs to work hard and find some easy space. Bailey Humphrey needs to win more of the football too, and David Swallow is one player for the Gold Coast that is clearly down on winning the football, so there's still a fair bit of improvement to come.
What about Adelaide's backs? Corlace.
Yeah.
Where have they been hiding him? I mean, obviously I've seen him, he played a lot of SANFL, but he just looks right at home. And he's not playing against a 10-gamer or anyone like that. He's playing against an absolute beast of a man in Casbolt who's played a lot of footy. He's beating him at the moment.
And I think when you had a look at too, I thought Mark Keane, that Ben King up in the square when Ben King kicked it off the ground, he just outbodied him and was able to do that. You're talking about a player that's only just played 6 games of AFL, the Irishman, so he's still trying to find his feet, but he's enormously skillful. So, yeah, when you have a look at Josh Worrell coming in, he's played 13. You've got Luke Nankervis in his 3rd game. You've got certainly James Borlase in his 1st, Mark Keane in his 7th. And then you go a little further up the chain, Max Michaelani in his 17th and Mitch Hinges in his 40th game. So the experience and the cohesion down there, they've probably played a fair bit of football in the SANFL. But again, as you well know, the level to come up and then perform, they're doing it exceptionally well.
Matt Crouch just keeps keeping on. He's had 20 disposals, 85% efficiency. His metres gains are strong. He just fills up the stat sheet. He's an unbelievable resurrection for his... I don't think we ever doubted his ability, but for him to come in over the last few weeks and to produce what he's doing today, I mean, it's a credit to him, but it's also tells you a little bit about how strong Adelaide's list is at the moment. And these, like, he's a club champion. He's played a lot of footy, but when they come up and get their opportunity, they are not wasting it, these players, and it's really good to see. I'm really happy for him. He's best on ground by a mile at the moment, and he's in a good spot.
It's a funny old one that we've mentioned a lot on SA Grandstand the past month, if not couple of months, that Adelaide knows, and they've been very open about, they want to hit free agency and get another big name in and almost cap off the 22 with a mature age body, but for weeks we thought they need a 3rd midfielder. They've got to find a 3rd midfielder. And Matt Crouch has stepped up and shown that he's not going anywhere. He's certainly a player they can use going forward. And then down back, Jordan Butts gets injured and we go, gee, they've got no back depth. What are they going to do? They're going to have to find a key defender. Well, Keane and Borlase have shown that they can hold their own. And the concern was, even if Adelaide won 3 of their next 4 and made finals, were they going to make a dent when they don't have an experienced backline? And for what we're seeing so far this afternoon, it's a small sample size, but yeah, they can certainly be competitive with those two.
I mean, the greatest thing for Adelaide to make the finals and expose the younger players to that type of a situation as well. So the outcome of that happening, there's still a lot of football to be played. But
this is some sort of step up, wouldn't it, for the likes of Borlase and Worrell and that, who've only played a handful of games, really. And then next thing you know, well, that was the SANFL. I'm pretty comfortable with the AFL finals. Yeah. Hang on, that's another level again.
Look, we're a long way ahead of ourselves at the moment. But you're ultimately, I mean, as it stands, the Bulldogs are 5th. I mean, if Adelaide snuck in and played 8th, you go to Melbourne, you expose these younger players to the finals-like environment.
So on the flip side, Brogues, you mentioned how exciting the depth is of Adelaide's list, and there's plenty of players that can step up. If you look at Gold Coast, and it's kind of been a knock that I've had on them for a while, that they lose a lot of players through free agency and trading and whatever, because players want to go to Victoria. But their depth, and even in the 22 this afternoon, their bottom 6 are guys that are questionable in terms of their impact. And if you're a Damien Hardwick and you're sitting on the beach in Italy right now, do you look at this list and say, yeah, I think it has good potential, or do you think it's still not quite there yet?
Oh, look, they've got enough to... I don't think they've got enough to slip where they need to get to. Okay, they're going to have to probably not go back to the draft as much as what they have. They need to get some older players up there and that have played 100 games, but they're not A-graders. They're good role players.
The hard part
every
is
week.
getting a mature body that is good enough and wants to go there, because usually it's just the guys that aren't good enough. So say a Rory Atkins, for example, who's was a mature body, but he wasn't exactly a star at Adelaide. He was a good enough player, serviceable, but
to go back to your point, I think if Damien Hardwick goes to the Gold Coast, you have a look at what the players they've lost. I mean, Tom Lynch has gone to Richmond. Isaac Rankin's come to Adelaide, and you start to... There's an attraction to go there, and you build this team out and they become skillful, and we've seen what they're developing. I don't think they're that far off it. If they can acquire and pick up their talent to come through the competition, and you'll find players will want to go with Damien Hardwick at some particular point. Like they are not far, but the competition is super tight, and just at the moment they're not executing like they should be. They're winning enough. It clearly shows they're winning enough football. Inside 50s, 32-23 in favour of Adelaide. Adelaide probably could have been further ahead. However, they've got the ability. You've got Matt Rao coming through, and you've got a couple of blokes that aren't at the level of what they are today. They've had a bit of a poor day, so I don't think they're far away.
Their second quarter shows you what they're capable of. There's just some efficiencies in their game, and one of them is going forward. 3 goals, 6 is not good enough at this level. Okay, they've only had 23 inside 50s, but everything looks hard. Everything looks like they kicked 2 goals, both from video review. There's nothing easy about moving the ball forward. So a new coach, a very good coach coming up there, implementing new game plan, new game style, I think that's what they're missing. They've got enough to challenge for the 8. It's just the game plan around it at the moment probably doesn't suit what Gold Coast need. And I don't know what that is. You probably don't know what it is, but Damien Hardwick might have an idea of what he might be able to do at this level. So, look, they're not out of this game, but they would need to play a lot better than what they're playing. And Adelaide just look like they're ready to really break this game open, which you'd expect by all the numbers. Even though Gold Coast are pretty good in the contest, it's just the disposal and the efficiency that's really hurting them.
We're talking about Gold Coast and Adelaide, however. GWS, I mean, you go to Richmond, Jacob Hopper, Tim Taranto, and Dion Prestia, all from GWS, have gone to Richmond.
Well, Prestia's from the Suns.
Well, Prestia's, yes, from the Suns, so there.
Taranto and Hopper.
But yes, it's the whole Victorian clubs rating the expansion clubs is kind of the issue. Like Stephen May was a Gold Coast Suns player and is now at Melbourne.
So I think if you need the attraction, and I think it was, and some thought, Alistair Clarkson, now it's not, but the potential of Damien Hardwick to go there, the acquisition of players plus the retention is really critical to Gold Coast.
The thoughts of Rod Jamieson, Dean Brogan, your experts this afternoon here at the Adelaide Oval. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross calling the action with Liz Walsh downstairs. The state of play is the Crows are up by 28 points. 8-4-52 plays 3-6-24. They led at quarter time by 29, and the Suns slightly chipping into that margin to make it 28 at the major break. We'll take you around the country with some scores across multiple codes in a moment, but for now on ABC Radio, Sports Digital, News Radio and the Listen app, we can take the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is rejecting calls to delay, defer or cancel the referendum on an Indigenous voice to Parliament. National Indigenous correspondent Carly Williams is at Garma.
In a keynote speech at Garma Festival in northeast Arnhem Land, the Prime Minister has promised to hold the voice referendum this year, but has not announced a date for the vote.
We will not deny the urgency of this moment. We will not kick the can down the road.
Recent polls show support for a yes vote has been trending down, with some warning both publicly and privately that the vote should be delayed.
West African leaders have agreed on a plan for military intervention in Niger after last week's coup. The regional bloc, ECOWAS, has given the military junta until Sunday to hand back power to Niger's deposed president. Nigeria's Chief of Defence, Major General Christopher Musa, says a solution must be found.
We must ensure that decisions taken here today are not mere rhetorics, but are transformed into tangible actions on the ground. To this end, I call upon each member state to take ownership of the agreed upon measures and work diligently to implement them towards finding solutions to this situation in the Republic of Niger.
A major cyber attack has shut down a number of hospitals and medical clinics in several U.S. states. Facilities run by Prospect Medical Holdings have been closed as security experts work to determine the extent of the hack. The American Hospital Association's labelled the attack a threat to life and says it could take several weeks for the hospitals to reopen. A Russian opera singer is suing New York's Metropolitan Opera after she was sacked following the invasion of Ukraine. Here's the BBC's Kat Wiener.
Anna Netrebko had been singing with the Met for 20 years when Russian troops invaded Ukraine in February 2022. Under pressure from the opera company's manager, the star, who'd previously made pro-Kremlin comments, did condemn the invasion. However, she stopped short of denouncing President Putin and was forced to withdraw from dozens of scheduled appearances. Ms. Netrebko is now demanding $360,000 in lost fees and for what she calls severe mental anguish. The star has continued to perform outside the United States.
The WA government says it's consulting stakeholders on the recently introduced Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Act, which the ABC understands will be scrapped within days. Kason Ho reports.
Widespread calls to delay the act due to confusion about how it would operate were dismissed by the state government, who went ahead with implementing the new rules last month. The ABC understands the state government is now planning to repeal the legislation, but Government Minister Stephen Dawson denies any decision has been made.
The state government continues to consult with the various stakeholders.
The act was intended to modernise old legislation which came under scrutiny when Rio Tinto destroyed Juukan Gorge, a culturally significant site in WA's Pilbara.
A surge in battery-related fires in New South Wales has prompted a warning about the safety risks and need for proper disposal. Fire and Rescue New South Wales says there's been a 20% surge in battery-related fires in the first half of 2023 compared to the same period last year. In the first 6 months of the year, there's been 114 fires started by lithium batteries. New South Wales Emergency Services Minister Jahab Dib says power packs, portable power banks, chargers, e-scooters and e-bikes are of particular concern.
The concern would be the batteries that are dumped in rubbish bins then go into trucks, heat up and start a fire and cause us all sorts of difficulties.
There are concerns 2 years of rain in Victoria has dramatically increased the number of foxes living in urban areas. Figures from Agriculture Victoria show there are 16 foxes per square kilometre in Melbourne compared to between 4 and 8 in agricultural areas. Pest animal manager Richard Francis says pest animals like foxes, deer and rabbits are becoming more common in the city.
There's been plenty of feed out for a whole range of their prey species. So foxes have had plenty of food, so their young have survived, and as a result, their numbers have increased.
South Australian baseball player Curtis Mead has recorded his first hit in his debut game in a US Major League Baseball. The 22-year-old batter was called up by the Tampa Bay Rays for their 3-game series against the Detroit Tigers. Mead didn't score with his 8th inning hit, but the Rays beat the Tigers 8-0. You're up to date with the latest from ABC News.
What's your favourite Aussie animal sound? Are you mad for magpies? Keen on the koala? Do you like to wallow in whale song? Or maybe you're team tree frog? How about whatever it is that lyrebirds do when they're actually being lyrebirds? To celebrate National Science Week, the ABC is looking and listening for Australia's favourite animal noise. Find out more at abc.net.au/sounds.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Witts takes the ball out of the ruck contest, clears the 50 only just. Hinge on the ground, just knocked it back to Dawson. Quick kick inside 50, Fogarty takes the mark. Calls that it was touched, but Fogarty took it. So Fogarty's just slightly to the right of the goals. In he comes, little hitch start, and then flows into his kick, and no problems for Darcy Fogarty. He has his second. The Crows have started the second quarter as they started the first.
Yeah, Matt Rowell's had a fair bit of blood coming from his head there. It's really been patched up by the doctors pretty quickly, and he's ready to come back on.
Still chasing their first goal. Toss back in. Casbolt gets rid of O'Brien. Should have gone for home. Instead, he retreats with a handball to Humphrey. Now Ellis has a snap. He's 35 out. It's curling towards the goal face. Smashed through. We're going to get a score review to see if it was actually a major. Yeah, just over. And Brandon Ellis finally gets Gold Coast a major. It took a quarter and 11 minutes, but the Suns have their first goal. Under pressure, only finds Schomburg, who tucks the footy under his arm, heads into the scoreboard pocket and hits Saligo on the charge. Tight angle, 25 out. Saligo leans back and threads the needle. Superb finish. Adelaide back up by 33. Whistle before the boundary throw in. Another blood rule. And it's Matt Rowell again. 3 times this afternoon. Witts wins it down through Collins though. Keys was waiting at the back. Check side from 30. Straight through the sticks. Excellent crumb and goal from Ben Keys.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
A virtual elimination final at the Adelaide Oval, but only one side has really turned up considering the circumstances. Adelaide leading by 28 points at half-time. 8-4-52 to Gold Coast, 3-6-24. And all 3 of their goals coming in that second term. A couple of them really difficult ones off score reviews. They haven't really made it easy for themselves this afternoon, whilst the Crows certainly have the midfield dominance and more efficiency heading inside the arc. The scoreline 8-4-52, playing 3-6-24. Matt Crouch has 20 touches at the major break. Mitch Hinge with 19 and Rory Laird with 15 for the Suns. Flanders with 17, Power with 14, and Atkins and Witts with 12. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross calling the action for you on ABC Radio, Sports Digital, News Radio and the Listen app. Your experts Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan with Liz Welsh downstairs. It's three-quarter time at the Docklands. Essendon lead West Coast by 17 points. The Eagles certainly up for the fight today. 8-10-58 to 6-5-41. Goal scorers there, 4 to Kyle Langford, and then a ton of individuals. Wright, Williams, Petruccelli, Perkins, Parrish, Marich, Hewitt, Durham, Jamie Cripps and Allen. Still to come today, the Twilight game, Hawthorn and Collingwood at the MCG. We'll take you there following this matchup. Everything kicks off on the ABC Listen app from 4:30 Eastern. And then tonight, the doubleheader, Geelong and Port Adelaide at Kardinia Park, both walking wounded, both with a lot at play. The Cats still fighting to be in the 8, and Port Adelaide want to hold on to top 2. And then the Battle of the Bridge, the Sydney Derby, the Giants and the Swans. Also the second fixture tonight. Certainly always is an intense and enjoyable clash between those two. So stay with us across the weekend on the ABC Listen app, Grandstand AFL across the country. Here, though, it is Adelaide leading by 28 points. Crossy?
Couple of questions to be asked in the second half. Can the Suns come back? And for Adelaide, well, the bigger the better in terms of percentage and winning at the moment. So it's Adelaide by 28 points. Ball goes down in the middle. It was dodgy, but it wasn't recalled. Swallow makes first possession off to Holman in his 100th game for the Gold Coast. Then Anderson on the turn inside 50. Worrell with a good punch in there. Crouch got it. Hand pass off to Michael Annie and then to Smith, who wobbles a kick down towards half forward. Bounce favoured Fogarty big time. Hand pass inboard. Inside 50 runs Murphy. Goes straight to goal. And away to the left as he kept it low and hoped for the best bounce possible. It wasn't there. Adelaide now by 29 points.
They would have lit the crowd up here just from one end to the other. Gold Coast are just unable to maintain once Adelaide start that run and rebound from the defence.
Powell pops it short. Little kick to Swallow. The inaugural skipper still rolling around for the Suns. Heads to right half back to a pack off hands. Crumbed by Ainsworth, but runs out of room and walks it over the boundary line.
You're right, Gemmo. Adelaide, when they transition the ball, Gold Coast just can't stop it. And really, Murphy should have kicked that goal and put the game to bed, really, such early in the third quarter. Not good signs here for Gold Coast.
Toss back in. O'Brien slaps it in the path of Jones. Plenty of room to work with. Hands it back to Matt Crouch. Central kick into the arc for Adelaide. Fogarty launches a little early. Took out his opponent, and Walker marked it at the back, but it was an unrealistic attempt. So Charlie Ballard will receive the free kick.
That was the king of unrealistic attempts.
Oh, he was up there, wasn't he? He was just sitting on top.
The Ballard went short to Anderson, who brings it out to this broadcast side and finds Hollands at half back. Inboard he goes dangerously, but Holman takes the mark. Been a journey for Holman. Started off at Carlton, found his way to the SANFL to get another go. Gold Coast has picked him up, and as I mentioned, he's in his 100th game for the Gold Coast this afternoon. Down the line he goes with a kick. King out-muscled by Keane for Adelaide. So the Irishman with the mark from County Cork runs around King on the mark and then hoists it high towards half forward. Mac Andrew goes back. He was the man at the front of the pack. McAdam let him go, and he took a nice strong defensive mark for the Suns.
Andrew tried to dummy around McAdam, who wasn't buying what he was selling. Handball under pressure. Atkins bounced off. Anderson taken out with a bit of a knee to the hip. Shoveled its way forward, and Collins is wrapped up by a couple as Anderson gets to his feet. A little ginger, but happy to play on.
Brodie Smith opted to hip and shoulder. Yeah.
We'll get a ball up behind right half forward for the Crows. O'Brien wins it down. Socket off the deck by Dawson. Tumbling towards the arc. Walker flung it out. Absolute throw to Laird, who left it behind. Atkins trips over him. Handed it off to Collins and kicks it out on the full. Free kick to Adelaide.
His house, the touch by Walker was just at his boots. You called it for Gemmo. Geez, he's sharp for a 32-year-old, whoever he is. He's playing some good footy. That was so crafty for a big fella.
33 now.
33.
Walker.
Playing like a 23-year-old.
And he'll be signed for another season. So it's Brodie Smith with the free kick after that ball went out on the full. He dumps it long and at the back, strong mark taken by Collins. I think that might be his first contested mark of the afternoon for Gold Coast.
I don't know why Adelaide would have gone long like that, Crossy too, particularly when Mac Andrews been so strong in the air for the Gold Coast.
Called to play on and kicks it long. Adelaide with all the numbers at the back. Ball Ace gave the handball straight back to Miller. He dumps it in again. Walker was in the front. Ball punched away. Chase Jones took the ball and was taken high, said the umpire. A little bit of push and shove going to follow on. Swallow was the man who got him in the tackle. I don't think there was much in it, to be honest. And Chase Jones has said, never mind, boys, I'm going back to take my shot at goal.
What's Ainsworth? Has he had a crack here at Taylor Walker? Something's happened. Taylor's gone in.
We saw a replay there, and there was no doubt about the necessity of the free kick. So Chase Jones is back ready to take it. We'll go quickly down to the boundary. Liz Walsh.
Yeah, Sean Lemons has started this quarter on the Gold Coast bench and in the hands of the physio. He's getting a lot of strapping put on his left thigh. I'll keep an eye on him for you.
Thanks for that, Liz. Chase Jones, meanwhile, straight out in front, about 40 metres. Leans back on the kick, misses badly, hooks it. And so the minus score there, Adelaide pushing out. Again, accuracy a problem. They pushed that lead out 8-6-54 to 3-6-24. 4 minutes into the third term.
Haven't put the game to bed quite yet. Atkins in the defensive goal square. Thought about going right, ends up going left. Long ball to the broadcast wing. 2-on-2 awaiting there. Swallow kept out of it by Dawson, who was caught high in the process. Free kick to the Crows skipper. Decent afternoon so far for him. Heads towards the right forward pocket. Andrews floating across. Cleared him. Fogarty at the back. Tumbles one towards home and it just clips the left-hand goalpost. For another minor score for Adelaide. 31 points the margin. 8-7-55 plays 3-6-24. 5 minutes into the third term. Over at the Docklands, Essendon by 16.
I've really liked McAndrew's game, but he needed to go a bit harder there. The one arm up and just had a little look, not at the footy, and he got away with one there, but he needs to be better there. But he surprised me today. He looks like a very good player.
Powell goes out to the eastern side. Pack mark taken by the ruckman Witts. And then he drops it short to Ainsworth near the boundary line, right on centre wing. He keeps it low and goes to Farah. And a 20-metre kick. Farah plays on. Inside two Adelaide players. Goes with his non-preferred left foot. Inside 50. Ball Ace sat there. Keane knocked it away from him. So teammates combining badly that time. Looked like Ball Ace was set for the intercept mark. It went to ground. Matt Crouch was wrapped up. We'll get a ball up. Straight out in front of the Gold Coast goals, about 40 metres.
At least he tried something then, Farah. He took the game on and a bit of flair and tried something. It's what they're going to need to do this quarter.
Witts tapped it straight to Hinge. A nice little handball chain for the Crows. Results in Michael Annie exiting. Not a lot ahead of him, so he tries to put it in the path of Fogarty. Charging across was McAdam as well. Andrew goes to ground and it bounces off him in front of the benches for a boundary throw-in. Adelaide up by 31 points. Liz Walsh downstairs.
Yeah, it looks like Gold Coast are bringing in their tactical sub, James Cheetahs. I'll just check in with the club and see whether that's tactical or whether they've got an injury concern.
Great story too. Cheetahs here for Woodville West Torrens. Crossy, you'd know a fair bit about him, and played unbelievably well and got picked up by the Gold Coast, I think mid-season last year.
Third time he's the sub this year as well. From the boundary throw-in, it cleared the rucks, went to the back. Nice tackle laid from Powell to hold things up on Lockie Murphy.
Was it
James Cheetahs was a pre-season supplemental in 2021. And that was after the Magarey medal win of 2021 for Woodville West Torrens. So off the pack, it's taken by the Gold Coast through Flanders. Down to half forward, he goes with a kick. Casbolt back on the ground. With him all the way was Ball Ace. Forced the ball out. It's still near the boundary line and we'll get a ball up. Left forward pocket for Gold Coast. They're heading to that northern end of the ground. Favoured by a little bit of a breeze heading that way.
You said you wanted more out of David Swallow this quarter, Jamo. He started the quarter really well. Had a big ball in front of us. He's had 3 disposals this quarter so far.
Off the ruck contest, Rowell has earned a free kick. Murphy the offender. And so Rowell will go back, look at the goals. He's about 40-odd metres out, about 40 metres out. And he will start his run in from outside 50 and right on the boundary line.
Not known as a prolific goal kicker, only 16 in his career.
In he comes, top 10 in the best and fairest for Gold Coast last year. He's put you to shame, Jamo. What a great finish from Matt Rowell. Always fancied, had a boom start to his career after being the #1 pick in the 2019 draft. Then he had that shoulder injury and he's fought his way back. Anyway, scoreboard as he gets the Gold Coast 4th of the afternoon. 4:6:30 for the Gold Coast, Adelaide 8:7:55. 8 minutes into the third term. Going to go down to Liz Walsh again.
Just confirming, James Cheetahs is coming into the game. It's a tactical substitution for the Suns. Elijah Hollins is out of the game.
I think he can kick a goal, Crossy. He just doesn't kick many.
Well done, Matty Rowell. He's had a real crack today. I'm not sure he hasn't really taken the next step in his career, but every week he looks like he's getting a little bit better, and great finish. And they started a little bit better the last 5 minutes, Gold Coast.
And makes it 7-2 this season for Matt Rowell.
25-point margin. Here's a clearance for him. Hands it off to Atkins. Now Flanders trying to get away from Murphy. Got a handball late to Witts. Into the arc he goes. King presents. Nice spoil from Keane. On the bounce. Gathered by Worrell. He's wrapped up by Swallow. The two opposing 24s. Ball up to come. 35 out, almost straight in front for the Suns.
Interesting passage of play. He had runners coming through, 3 of them, and then they handballed to a ruckman.
Witts won it down to Swallow, caught in the tackle from Worrell. McPherson shovels one out, trying to get it to Rosas, goes to ground, coming through Worrell. Got it to Dawson, then Hinge. Exits out towards the broadcast wing for Adelaide. Fogarty, his intended target, power floated across and takes the intercept mark. Too far out to score, but a chance to send them straight back in. He'll head to the top of the goal square. King's his target. Bounced off a couple of hands. Hinge puts his head in. He's wrapped up in the tackle from Lukosius and a nice little wiggle to sell that he can't get it out. It'll be a ball up, top of the goal square.
Just keep an eye on Darcy Fogarty. In that contest then, he was awkward, and I think he's grabbed his right groin.
Ball off the ruck contest. Humphrey trying to bustle his way through. Picked it up, taken down in a tackle. What did the umpire think? Holding the ball. And it's that man, James Ballas. Already a crowd fans in front of us on their feet applauding him. It's come away to Smith. Absolute beautiful stab pass over 35-40 metres. Finds Saligo. Goes to the corridor to his skipper and Dawson. Dawson then goes out to the eastern side. And inside half forward with his kick, ball to ground. Keys fighting hard, tapped it out. Chase Jones on the snap, away to the right, and bounces right on the line. So we'll get a throw in the right forward pocket. Great result for Adelaide. If it was going to miss scoring a goal, better to have it bounce on the line and have a stoppage inside 50.
The Eagles are fighting back at the Docklands. 2-goal margin, final term. If you do want to hear it, hit the AFL button in the ABC Listen app. We won't be offended.
Stop encouraging that.
25-point margin. Adelaide up, toss back in. Flanders threw a handball out straight to Murphy. Keys dropped it in the tackle. Farrer applying some pressure. He'll hold Matt Crouch up. Ball up to come. 35 straight in front. It's the flexibility of the app, Jamo. You can listen to any game at any time.
I get the flexibility, but
they'll come straight back, don't worry.
You can share the score.
Tossed up. O'Brien wins it down. Keys flung it over his head towards the top of the goal square for Adelaide. Powers sitting back, but he dropped it. Caught in the tackle, missed his boot. No whistle. The crowd about to riot. Came back. Flanders is held up in the tackle from Murphy, and it's a ball up.
That
10
is
out.
Incorrect disposal. That is absolutely Adelaide's free.
It's an absolute mare. Tossed up. Adelaide still having a crack. O'Brien straight down, charging through Fogarty. Tried to bulldoze through, ran out of room. Flanders, Sockers one. About 5 metres back. McPherson spun a 360 by Thilthorpe. Coughed it up to Jones, who missed his boot in the tackle, and the whistle stays away again. That's 2 throws in the space of a minute. At half forward for Adelaide. Michael Annie gets one back to Nan Curvis. Ball up to come. The umpires, jeez, they've had an awful, miserable couple of minutes.
One either way. Should have gone to Adelaide, shot on goal, and that one to Gold Coast. Deep in their defence.
So the ball goes up. Jordan Dawson takes it off the pack, drops it inside 50, and their good intercept mark taken by Powell. Fogarty was coming, but he was brave. Spreads the ball to this broadcast side of the ground. Ainsworth going back, takes the mark, about 10 metres in from the boundary. He wants a short pass and picks off Atkins on the lead. Chest mark near the point of the centre square. Keeps it on this broadcast side now as he plays on down the line. Ball comes off the pack. Picked up by King. Hand pass to McPherson. He gave a forward hand pass. That was effective, but still under pressure. Every possession for the Gold Coast under pressure. Adelaide flick it through the hands to Riley O'Brien, if you don't mind. Down the line he goes with a kick. Fogarty just bumped into Ballard, slipped a hand pass out. McAdams spent it before he had it, turned it over. Atkins back to Ballard, left foot in hope more than anything. And then it's taken and on the logo on centre wing. It's hand passed out by McPherson. Found Humphrey, came off his legs to Casbolt. He hand passed it to Ainsworth, met by O'Brien. Back there again, Ainsworth did well, got it to Humphrey, speared a ball long with a barrel inside 50.
Worrell back with the flight, got a fist against Lukosius. Hinge tries to break away, didn't realise the danger he was in. Roses forced a turnover. McPherson from 45 heads for home, and the Suns, for all their effort, get some reward. McPherson finishes for his first of the afternoon. Margin back down to 19 points. And a game with so much at stake, finals essentially on the line. It's starting to feel like it out there. 8-7-55 plays 5-6-36, 14 minutes into the third.
Well, it's not the prettiest game, is it? But Gold Coast is just scrapping hard and they're fighting. And they just made a goal from nothing, winning a ground ball, a torpedo kick inside 50, win a one-on-one, and they get a goal. There's 19 points. They've just scrapped their way back into this game. Well done.
29 points at quarter time, 28 at half time. You're right down to 19 now. 7-8 inside 50s in favour of the Gold Coast. 3 behinds to Adelaide and 2 goals to Gold Coast this quarter. Liz.
Bit of trouble down here for Chase Jones for the Crows. He's just come from the ground really gingerly. They've taken off his left boot and the doctor's currently checking out his foot. He does not look comfortable at all.
Thilthorpe in the ruck for Adelaide, got the tap out. Humphrey bursts out of the pack though for Gold Coast, sends it long inside 50. Lukosius about 4 grabs, opposed to Worrell but did well and took the mark. 25 out, you'd back him from here. He's a very good kick.
So we saw earlier in the year up in Darwin when Adelaide played the Gold Coast. Lukosius kicked 4, I think it was, in the second quarter. Finished with, I think, 5 or 6 for the night. And was a significant goal scorer. He's got some amazing talent.
As we said from the Eagles, pick 2 of the 2018 draft, Jack Lukosius comes in. He's a very good kick. He knows how to do it, and straight away he's into Worrell. And Worrell came back at him, and the Suns gather around. There's a lot of push and shove going on. Worrell's dragged to ground. They've got the collar of his Guernsey. Who's that? It's Flanders making a meal of it. And still it goes on as the ball goes back to the middle. Gold Coast 6-6-42. Adelaide 8-7-55. 16 minutes down in the third term. They finally stopped the push and shove. Only just.
Well, we spoke about efficiency for Gold Coast. They're going at 80% right now to Adelaide's 61%. That is the difference of the game. Possessions are pretty even. Gold Coast up a little bit there, but clearance, contested possession, all even. Just ball in hand. Gold Coast are a little bit more efficient. And that was all it was for the game. And now they've tidied that up and they've come out firing. They've drank the Kool-Aid at half-time, that's for sure. And Adelaide need to lift here. They're getting challenged.
Round 10, 5-goal 1, 16 disposals. Jack Lukosius.
High bounce in the middle. One down by Casbolt. 3 unanswered goals for the Suns here. Anderson spun a 360 and dropped it. Just let go of the footy. Free kick to Rory Laird. It's game on at the Adelaide Oval. 13 points the margin. Laird sends it into the arc for Adelaide. Flying across Collins, put his body on the line at the back. Ballard got a handball to Powell. Casbolt back towards Lemons. Dangerous kick for Ellis, who just holds on. Right back pocket against Smith. And now things can settle a little bit for Gold Coast, who are under immense pressure there from the home side.
Just starting to win some one-on-ones in their back 50 and take control of that area of the game.
Ellis exits to the outer side. Nankervis crunches the pack. Stays in the field of play just. Flanders pushes it straight out. kicked it out on the full. They could have had the boundary throw in, and instead it's Adelaide's ball.
Flanders leaning right back on the kick that time, so it's Keane, the Irishman. In he comes and keeps the ball low. It's a shocking kick, and Flanders got it back, hand passed off to Ellis. Ellis sinks the boot into it, and going back there, Borlace again, looking like a veteran, just takes a nice intercept mark for Adelaide, and very calm in defence now, holds it up, says let's just settle things, boys. Down the line he goes, and high out on that eastern side. Riley O'Brien rises up, marks, gives it off to Smith, and then smashes it inside 50 to Thilthorpe. Led out, and the big man in front of Andrew took a strong mark. 40 out, bang in front.
Right on, James Bay. Ball lays too, but Riley O'Brien, you know, he just needs to clunk that. Tremendous, got it off quick, and talk about Thilthorpe just being able to do that up forward. He needs to do more of it. No defender, even Mac Andrew then, couldn't even get near him with his height.
Brody Smith's kick too. What a kick. If you're a forward leading to that, you shouldn't be dropping those.
Thilthorpe with a minus score so far this afternoon, 17-6 on the season. He's sprayed that one to the right. So 17-7 on the season, 2 behinds this afternoon from Riley Thilthorpe. Adelaide with 4 behinds in this quarter. The Gold Coast 3 goals straight. And the margin 14 points. Liz Walsh on the boundary.
Chase Jones is still down here, boot off, but the doctor's given him his foot a really good going over. He's being taped up, so it looks like he might be good to come back on. But in the meantime, Rory Sloane is definitely limbering up.
Atkins exit looking for Anderson, who fumbled. Rao came in, couldn't control it either, and it's on again. Collins getting stuck into Matt Crouch. Eleni T won't have a bar of it. She tosses the footy up, forces everyone to go. Witts takes it out of the ruck, almost flung it out in the tackle. Got it to Roses, shaped one, and then caught in the second from Hinge. Whistle, holding the ball. Non-controlling umpire comes in and hands the footy to Adelaide. Mitch Hinge, true centre wing, broadcast side. 14-point lead. Hinge kicks into the 50, and he's cleaned up by Roses after disposing it. Roses came in, swung a fist straight into the sternum. It's on again. They'll get a downfield free kick, Adelaide, as the melee ensues. Here on the Logo broadcast side, it was unnecessary from Malcolm Roses, and a coach killer when you've kicked 3 unanswered goals.
And you've probably got one of the best set shots in the AFL, having a shot 35 out. Well, no, it's going to Thilthorpe now, but
Taylor Walker was smart.
That bit. Sorry, boys.
Walker wanted it. They gave it to Thilthorpe. He hands it to the Texan. The goal is not going to count. It will go back to Riley Thilthorpe, who wasn't on his line.
So the umpires have actually been pretty ordinary today. And I don't tend to knock them for the job that they do and how difficult it is, but I think the heat in the game is a lot to do with the way the umpires have probably missed a significant amount of frees on both ways.
If it's a showcase for finals footy, they haven't lived up to what it's supposed to be. Riley Thilthorpe has the set shot off the downfield free kick. Just outside the arc, slight angle to the right. Beautiful straight set shot, but just didn't start with the right angle. So it's a minus score on the left-hand side. 8-9-57. 5 behinds this term for the Crows to 3 goals to the Suns, and it's a 15-point margin.
Yeah, Gold Coast, just a little bit undisciplined, but clearly they've got a talking to at half-time. They've come out, there's a bit of heat in this game, and mainly because Gold Coast have lifted in the toughness area.
Powell to Anderson. Anderson took it, took off, kicked down the ground. Mac Andrew, the offender, as Hinge will take the free kick for Adelaide. Out there looking into the sun.
15-12 frees in favour of Adelaide.
Goes back to Borlace inside the centre square, and they've completed the switch. It's Keane on this broadcast side. Thought about what he was going to do, then finally a hand pass over the top to Michael Annie, who on the turn sends it long inside forward 50. There's a little bit of push after that with Holman. Adelaide with a couple of hand passes. Miller, as usual, just manages to get around players that he shouldn't have. Back to Nankervis, inside 50 again and wide, looking for Smith. Pulls it in, 1, 2, 3 grabs. Ellis complains the ball hit the ground, but the umpire said no, fair enough. And Brody Smith is, well within distance. It's just a question of accuracy. He's going to kick from about 45 out. on that eastern side, on the eastern flank.
Super mark, wasn't it? One-handed, falling over with pressure. You're back, Brody Smith, from here.
Nick Holman into Michael Annie, and Borlase behind play in the middle of the ground.
Oh, back Smith to make the distance. The accuracy is just astray, though. So 6 behinds for Adelaide in the third quarter. As we close in on three-quarter time, the Crows have a 16-point advantage. And Rory Atkins keen to get on with it in the goal square for the Suns.
They've left the door open, Adelaide. Atkins takes a couple of bounces, uses the shepherd and kicks up towards the broadcast wing. Andrew gets rid of Walker, crunched in the contest though. Front and square with Saligo. Thrusted a handball straight to Roses. The Suns now through Ainsworth.
Wow.
Centres his kick into the square, 2-on-2. Anderson flies, brought it to ground, then got a handball to Lemons. Speared it straight to the runner's path. Still managed to hit Lukosius just wide of the centre circle. Lukosius heads up to half forward. Hot footy, hit Humphrey. Gets around Millerer. Humphrey launches one all the way to the goal square. They have the outnumber, the Suns. Good job by Michael Annie to bring it to ground, and Holman's handball a little too heavy. Went over the head of Casbolt. Hinge took the footy, slipped over, and Casbolt fell into him. Could have argued holding the ball as he lost his footing, but instead it'll be a ball up inside the attacking 50 for Gold Coast.
Big ball by Michael Annie. 1v2, just got a hand into it. It was a certain goal for Gold Coast.
Oh, Witts almost knocked it into the hands of Flanders, who would have run into open goal. Instead, Adelaide away through disposal of Saligo. And was that out of bounds on the full? No. Said the umpires, just marked inside, low down by Fogarty. So Fogarty at halfback goes down the line looking for McAdam. Comes off hands towards the interchange gates and over the boundary line. Let's go down to Liz Walsh again. She's been busy.
I have. Unfortunately for the Crows, Chase Jones is now out of the game. He tried to get back up. He had so much strapping put on his foot that he struggled to get his sock back on. Tried to do a run along the boundary, didn't work. So Rory Sloane has now come into the game. You might have heard the big cheer from the crowd behind me for that one. He's a fan favourite down here.
McAdam, Rochelle, Walker, Schoenberg have not touched the football in this third quarter for Adelaide.
16-point game here over at the Docklands. It is Essendon by 7 with 5 to play. You can hear on the ABC Listen app. Toss back in. Witts won it down straight to Rao. Gets away from Murphy. The clearance into the 50 for the Suns. Little high for Casbolt. At the back, Keane tried to bust through. Lost the footy to McPherson. Catches the belly of the ball. Hinge now with the double fist. Exits the arc. Murphy almost left it behind. Ellis came in. He dropped the pill as well. Hinge brought to ground by Humphrey. Ball up to come just outside the arc for the Suns.
Geez, big 5 minutes for Gold Coast. Can you hang on and get to quarter time being down by this margin and just give you a bit of energy going the last quarter? Really important few minutes for Gold Coast.
O'Brien wins the ruck knockout, and Atkins surely knocked the ball across the line. He did. He didn't want to take possession. He was under pressure from Sloane, who will receive the free kick now. Inboard he goes, short to Matt Crouch, was knocked down as he took the ball by McPherson. Umpire said that's okay.
The Gold Coast have had more possessions this quarter, going at 76%, and they've had 5 more marks. Adelaide at 66, so it's been another big quarter after their second quarter. The Gold Coast.
Crouch back to Hinge, and then Hinge goes to the corridor. Michael Annie Foy, the first to pick it up on the bounce, and gave it to Sloane, which wasn't great. They work it through the hands and get it to Nankervis on centre wing. He goes outside with the left foot down to half forward. Walker comes late, gets it to ground. Holman was there, hand passed it off to Collins. Collins just a long hand pass to space, finds the boundary line ahead of Lukosius and Nankervis, who came to it. Out on the eastern side where the fans are squinting into the sun, we're going to get a ball thrown in by the boundary umpire. 8:10:58 Adelaide, Gold Coast 6:42 Grandstand AFL.
Toss back in. Witts wins it down through the hands of Rao. Anderson at the back. Had O'Brien on his tail. Slapped the footy closer to the boundary line. Crouch falls into it. Ball up to come. Oscar Allen's just converted a 50-metre bomb, and it's a 1-point game with 4 minutes to go at the Docklands. Essendon up
It's only 16 points the difference here in favour of Adelaide, but the clearances, Adelaide are smashing the Gold Coast here, 33-21 overall. In the stoppage clearances, 25-15.
Wits down to Rowell. He's wrapped up in the tackle. Umpire waits, and we'll get another ball up close to the logo. Good tackle laid by Lockie Murphy.
So the ball goes in the air, and it was O'Brien who had the better of the contest. Sloane's got it in his hands towards the boundary line and over. Under pressure from Rory Atkins, the former teammates going hard at it. So here we are, late in the third term, after Adelaide led by 29 at quarter time and by 28 at half time. But now the margin's been cut down to 16. And off the ruck contest comes to Humphrey. He's tackled straight away. Umpire will call for the ball up. Witt's slow to get back to his feet. Possibly O'Brien taking a toll on Jared Witts.
The Essendon West Coast game. When was the last time Adam Simpson won in Melbourne?
When was the last time West Coast won 2 in a row? Witts tumbles the kick forward, trying to get Holman. He's fighting with Rochelle. Diving handball from Sloane. Hits Smith. Here come Adelaide into the 50. Big launch from Walker. Just went a little early. At the back, McAdam's got 3 to beat. Wrestling for the footy. It goes over the boundary line. Gee, that was a hanger from Walker. Just couldn't quite hang in the air long enough.
I thought he was a bit unlucky, Walker. He went an honest jump and his defender sort of backed into him and could have been done for tunnelling. So got away with one. Watch for Walker here in this ruck contest, or if you're listening, watch for him grabbing it out the ruck.
Adelaide by 16 points. Witts with a tap down to Anderson. Swamped by a couple. Ball comes down. Phil Thorpe gets it to Dawson. On the snap, another behind for Adelaide. Hit the post that time. They're getting closer. They've now got 7 behinds for the quarter. And Adelaide extend their lead. 17 points as Atkins plays on. Straight away goes to Farah in the pocket.
Kick close to the boundary line as he exits to the broadcast wing and out on the full in the end. Keane was there just in case, and he'll take the footy.
26 seconds remaining in this third quarter. There is a chance if Adelaide gets it inside their 50 once again.
The Irishman heads in. Packer waits. Front and square was McAdam. Hands it to Fogarty. Here's Sloane, the sub. Trying to shake Farah. Gets around him. Back to Fogarty. Slipped as he sold some candy. Gets it to Rochelle. Caught in the power tackle. They just can't get away from the pressure. Holding the ball. Ryan Marich has a shot on goal for West Coast to give them the lead with 1:49 left. He's 30 out and he's slotted it. West Coast could win 2 in a row here at the Docklands. Meanwhile, it's 3-quarter time at the Adelaide Oval. 17 points. I've completely butchered this one, so give me a second. 17 points is the margin, I'm correct. 8-11-59 plays 6-6-42. 6 behinds to the Crows, to Gold Coast 3 goals in that third term. So they're well and truly back in the hunt here. All eyes at the moment on the Docklands, though. We'll keep you up to date with these closing stages. If you do want to hear it, jump on the ABC Listen app. Goal scorers at 3-quarter time for Adelaide: Fogarty with 2, McAdam, Saligo, Walker, Crouch, Murphy and Keys with a single. And for the Suns, Tutalukocious individual goals to Ellis, Rao, King, McPherson. Tell you what, I'll just stay with this for a quick second. 1 minute 40 left. West Coast up by 5 points. It's a massive result, especially in the context for both these teams who are in the hunt for final. Essendon is in that pack. Obviously, there's only a few spots left in the 8 right now.
Well, coming into this round, Essendon with 13. Geelong, Sydney, Richmond, Adelaide, Essendon and the Gold Coast all on 9 wins.
Minute 27 left. See how long it goes for. There's a couple of contests in the middle. Parrish is trying to flick one out.
I reckon a minute 27.
Clearing kick comes from Laverty up towards the 50. Bombers on attack. Bouncing at the back. Handball over the top of the goal square. Langford's going to put them back in front. Essendon back up by a point, and I think that's his 5th of the afternoon. We've got to take a quick break. There's still 70 seconds left in this game, so we'll get you back and let you know how it ends up. On ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app, it's the Crows by 17 points on Grandstand AFL.
ABC Listen.
A lot of us want to know exactly how a major Silicon Valley bank could have failed, how a former comedy star is holding off a nuclear superpower, and how did a country a lot like Australia end up with 100% inflation. I'm Matt Bevan. Join me for a new season of my podcast, If You're Listening, helping you make sense of major news events shaping our world with new episodes weekly. If you're listening, hear it now on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Off the ruck contest, Rowell has earned the first forward.
We're going to take a quick change here and head to the Docklands for the dying stages. Essendon up by a point.
On the last line of defence.
Eagles had to bring that one to ground.
Yeah. Time now, the enemy for the West Coast Eagles. Zerk Thatcher kicks as long as he can towards right. Durham, big fly in from the side. Spills down boundary side. Parrish gathers, kicks end over end as far as he can. Time might run out now. Rotham races after it. He gathers at left half back. Swings out to the right hand side. Has to kick as long as he can towards McGovern. Marrick's there. It's spoiled down. The siren sounds. And the Bombers find a way out of jail. They avoid the trap draw and they break the West Coast Eagles fans' hearts with a goal in the last 90 seconds through Kyle Langford to prevail by a point.
So Essendon, hang on. She has a thrilling finish. Here at the Adelaide Oval, it is the Crows by 17 points heading into the final term. We just had to get you there for the call. Matt Clinch and Jess Webster in the closing stages, and West Coast gallant. Unfortunately, they'll stay on 2 wins and remain at the bottom of the ladder. But the Bombers, gee, they got away with one there.
I'm just looking at the stats there too, Aaron. Incredibly, West Coast kicked 5-1 to Essendon 2-3. Went at 82% disposal efficiency. Had 30 marks to 17. So they were coming home. They finished strong and just couldn't get to the finish line.
Here at the Adelaide Oval, Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross with you, Rod Jamieson, Dean Brogan, your experts, Liz Walsh on the boundary. Gents, how do we see this final term playing out?
Well, hats off to Gold Coast. Since quarter time, I think they've been the better team. What they did that quarter is they used the ball way more efficient than what they did in the first half, and they got some reward for their effort going forward. If you're Adelaide, there's some concern. I mean, 0-7, they had their chances, but is that going to come back to bite them? I think Gold Coast have been strong around the contest all day, but it was a simple game. You use the ball better when you have the ball in offence and you get the ball inside 50 to your forwards a little bit quicker and a little bit more efficient, you're going to kick goals, and that's what they did then. And the other thing they did too, they got stuck in Adelaide. So whatever was said to them by the coach or their leadership group, they came out firing and they really put Adelaide on the back foot. So well done, Gold Coast, but can you go on with it? And Adelaide, you've been challenged. What have you got?
Well, having a look at the clearance and the stoppage work, the clearance, Adelaide were belting the Gold Coast. But if you go to the first quarter, O'Brien just hit outs 12-7, hit outs to advantage, O'Brien 4. And then the Gold Coast were able to first possession and clearance work. In the second quarter, O'Brien 11-7 hit outs, and still more of Adelaide in that quarter. But here in the third quarter, Wits has really stood up, 11-9, albeit that it wasn't such a big differential, but the clearance work, Rowell, Swallow, they're starting to get into the game. Wits are also first possession, so there's a real difference in that third quarter, and all the metrics around the ground of all the tackling, the marking, ground ball gets, it's pretty much even for that third quarter. And so where Adelaide, to your point, Brogues, is, and they've done this many times throughout the year where they've kicked themselves out of game. There's certain games that they should have iced the game either by quarter time or half time. Take the Melbourne game only a couple of weeks ago. 1 goal 9 from set shots and they lose by 4 points. And here they are again at three-quarter time. 17 points up with 7 behinds in that third quarter. And you would suggest that 5 of them were pretty easy set shots. The Gold Coast with 3. So game on last quarter, Aaron.
17 points the margin. You'd think the loser will be out of the running from here. Grandstand finish coming your way on Grandstand AFL. Great to have you with us. Just repeating, the Bombers winners by a point over the Eagles. Still to come today, Hawthorn, Collingwood, Geelong, Port and GWS Sydney. In the middle, Wits won it down. Trickled through Rowell. Dawson fended off Anderson high. Free kick to come back as he got the clearance. It'll go Gold Coast way.
How critical was that too? Adelaide, Dawson to lead, and he was away to drop it in their forward 50.
Disposal number 17 for Noah Anderson. Quiet afternoon in the absence of Tuke Miller. He skies it into the 50. Casbolt pushed out of it by Ball Ace. Caught behind, but somehow managed to take the chest mark. I think he'd lost it for a moment and it just fell in his lap. Straight in front. 35 out.
He did all the great defensive work there, James Borlase, except just anticipate where the footy was going to
It's
land.
like he misjudged the drop of the ball, but Casbolt needs to step up. He should really own Borlase in this last quarter, and it's time for him to step up. Big mark.
An easy miss. Casbolt, one behind in the first quarter.
Big Levi Casbolt in a big moment from 40. The double python. He loves it. And Gold Coast right back in this game. 11 points the margin. 8-11-59, plays 7-6-48 in the opening minute of the final term.
Well, you were right, Jamo. Adelaide were away, and a fend-off by Dawson just got his opponent high, Anderson high. Otherwise, Adelaide were going inside 50. It's an amazing game footy, isn't it? And it's a 12-point turnaround, so to speak, you know. But, look, Casbolt needs to step up. He's playing against a one-game player in Borlase. Albeit Borlase's been good, but he will get tired. So if the ball keeps coming in to Casbolt, you would think he would have an advantage deep inside 50, as he did on that occasion.
Rory Sloane into the middle of the ground.
5 unanswered goals for Gold Coast. Adelaide's last goal was kicked at the 23-minute mark of the second term. Ball back in the centre, flicked out to Laird by O'Brien, and Laird was wrapped up straight away by Anderson, forced the ball up. So it goes again. And Ruckman nullify each other. Laird came through, lost it, picked up by Ainsworth, smashes it forward for the Suns. Going back there was Casbolt making a contest. It fell to Borlase, off to Michael Annie, and wide he went with a kick to Smith. Took it just inside defensive 50 for the Crows on the eastern side.
Wayne Miller really clean through the congestion. Max Michaelani, young player with great composure.
Smith blasts it up the outer side. O'Brien clunches the pack at the back. Walker hands it off to Murphy. He's off to the races. Couple of bounces. 3 in the end. The third didn't come back. Handball off to Keys, just inside the arc. Shares it centrally to Rochelle. Over the top, he's coughed it up. Gave it to Ballard. Dumped in the tackle from Fogarty. Ball up to come. Gee, they were away there surging. Meanwhile, O'Brien crunching the pack, as I called earlier, I think has cleaned up Will Powell, who's in the hands of trainers.
It doesn't look good for Will Powell too. He's just clutching his left ankle, it looks.
So the ball off the contest by Witts, and he just tried to get it outside defensive 50. Michael Annie was there at the top of the 50, gave it to Laird. Somehow from being tackled and on the ground, he got a kick away. Noah Anderson now in a tackle gets a kick away as well. Outside defensive 50. It's fallen for the Suns almost. No. Umpire spotted a free kick for holding there. No. I think he's just going to hold things up because there is concern for Powell behind the play who hasn't moved. He's got 3-4 trainers around him at the moment, and the umpires have decided to stop play.
Yeah, he's pulled out the whistle too, the doctor. So he's in all sorts. It's either left, it's a broken ankle or a foot or a...
Looked like an ankle.
And this time last year, it was the right ankle that completely snapped the wrong way and forced him to miss a significant portion of footy.
Well, the good news for spectators and those of us on this side of the ground is that the mobile ambulance has come out there and we can't see what's going on with that leg if it is an ugly sight.
He just started to find some form as well. As we mentioned, the broken ankle last year was horrific. He's having career best in terms of disposals per game. He's a first-round pick who's starting to find his own, and he was just crunched by O'Brien at the front of the contest and has landed awkwardly, and now the card is out on the Adelaide Oval, which isn't a good sign. Down to Liz on the boundary.
Yeah, there's an eerie silence down here. No one likes seeing a player in this much trouble, which he looks like he is. But just as a little aside, as the play stopped, Matt Rowell came off the ground as well, with more blood coming from his head. So he'll need that patched up as well.
Just looking at the big screen here, because he is on the eastern side of Adelaide Oval. They've got 3 trainers holding his left leg and slowly putting it down onto the stretcher. So
last year it was the right one.
Yeah.
So a different foot, same possible injury.
17 matches this year, 18th today, and 87 games for the Gold Coast. And you're right, he's been tremendous this year with his ability to win the football.
The whistle straight out, you called it, Jamo. That green whistle is straight in the gob. That normally means you've either broken your leg or you've done your knee. And I think by the way he landed, it looks like he landed inwards. And he grabbed his ankle straight away. So, doesn't look good for the kid.
Don't want to overplay it, but remember we called the AFLW Port Adelaide Western Bulldogs at Port Adelaide, and
the 30-minute delay.
Oh, and the lady, one of the players went across as she kicked, and her shin. Oh,
that was a broken tib and fib that day.
Oh, it was almost like the Nathan Brown one for those that might recall the MCG. That was horrific, and it was stopped for 30 minutes that game.
So Powell on the cart, being driven off the Adelaide Oval. The margin sits at 11 points at the moment, 8-11-59 to 7-6-48. Both sides have already made their subs, so the Suns will be a man down. Holland's already subbed out of the game tactically. And as a result, James Cheetahs came in. And for Adelaide, Chase Jones out for their footy club, which was more of an ankle injury for him. And Rory Sloane came onto the park. Crossy, what are you seeing out there?
Just watching the doctor with his arm low down on the ankle, but still on the leg, if you know what I mean. Just above the ankle is where he's supporting Powell as they go off the ground. So that would suggest there might be a problem with the fibula, the larger of the two bones in the lower leg. But we'll wait and see, and we'll no doubt get something as the afternoon progresses.
So play set to continue on the outer side. Adelaide by 11. Witts gets a couple of chances to thrust it forward. Dawson gathers, dropped it in the tackle. Humphrey got him. He falls into the footy. Ball up to come inside the square.
So they got Will Powell out of the game too. Matty Rowell, blood rule. Elijah Hollands is in a bit of strife too. So they're going to be stretched in this last quarter.
Adelaide forced the ball forward through Smith, and then there's Lemons right in the back of Keys, and the umpire was about 5 metres away, said free kick. Keys inside 50, long inside 50. Ball comes to ground just as Holman went up in the air and brought it down. It's come out towards Hinge. Hinge with the kick smothered to Saligo, who gave it to him in the first place. Somehow kept it in play, snapped it back to the top of the goal square. It's come down. Fogarty to Walker, over the shoulder from 20 out. Blessed relief for Adelaide after they gave up 5 unanswered goals and a horror third quarter when they had 7 behinds. Walker has his second of the afternoon, and Adelaide gets a little bit of steady out of that goal. 9-11-65. Gold Coast 7-6-48. 8 minutes into this final quarter. Remember, it will, because of that injury, run very long.
Geez, great hands by Fogarty at his boots. He just flicked it up to Walker, who Walker doesn't miss snaps from 30 metres out, but it was just a goal from nothing again. It was a junk ball out by Gold Coast. Bit of a smother. Again, just chaos footy inside their forward 50, and Adelaide really deserved that. They've had kicked 0 goals, 1 goal, 7 in a quarter and a half footy.
Right on Jake Saligo too, kept it alive. Hinge was trying to kick, great smother Rory Atkins, and then right on the boundary Saligo keeps the football in to keep the footy alive.
The crowd's found its voice.
Walker now has multiple goals against Gold Coast in 13 of the 15 games he's played against the Suns.
It's the team he averages the most goals against, 3 a game. Witts got it out. Anderson caught in the tackle from Sloane, had no choice but to drop it. Holding the ball, free kick to the former skipper, Rory Sloane. Into the arc he goes. Walker's kept out of it. O'Brien backing into the pack. Outmarked in the end by Ballard. What a star this kid is.
Gee, brave, isn't he? Deep in defence with his marking.
Ballard wants to go on the outer side. Put it towards Collins. Late spoil attempt. Brought it to ground. Collins gets a handball back towards Ainsworth. Now Cheetahs. Darting and weaving around Sloane. Ainsworth thrusts inside. And hooks the kick forward to Lukosius. Defensive edge of the square. One of 3 South Australians out there for the Suns this afternoon.
Charlie Ballard, 4 marks in defence today.
Lukosius down the line, coming late. Casbolt with the fist. It ricochets towards half forward. Holman becomes the tackler on Michael Annie. Will get a ball up just outside the 50.
And 4 marks for a defender, like in a contested area like that, 20 metres out from Adelaide's goal.
Oh, good tap down by Witts to Swallow. Ball Ace just got a hand on it, knocked it down. Oh, it's fallen easily. Cheetahs gave it to King, and the goal there for the Suns. So the Suns hit back 2-4 King, and the Suns again bring it under a 2-goal margin. It's Gold Coast 8-6-54, Adelaide 9-11-65. And we've gone through 10 minutes of this last quarter. Grandstand AFL, Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan, your experts.
Great ruck work by Witts. That was sensational. Hit it down the midfielder's throat, who was unopposed at the time. Scrambles a kick inside 50. And then again, Gold Coast chaos ball inside 50 is how they've been able to kick goals today. And it's still game on, isn't it?
James Cheetahs too, just smart. Quick handball out to King, who was involved in the contest. The fourth quarter for Adelaide, again, they've won 11. They've only won 7, the Gold Coast, but at the moment, 2-1. 11 minutes in to the last quarter.
2-goal game, Adelaide up. O'Brien wins it down. Wide of Sloane, he got there in the end, handed it off towards Dawson, left it behind. Swallow slides in, he's wrapped up. Ball up to come. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Rod Jamieson, Dean Brogan, Liz Walsh with you for the conclusion here at the Adelaide Oval. Set to be a ripping one. O'Brien wins it down, bouncing off a couple of bodies. Crouch somehow dropped it onto his boot, right to left, in the midst of a sandwich. Trickled towards Lemons. Tumbling kick under pressure, found O'Brien. And Witts wraps him up. Still inside the centre square. Ball up to come.
Things are all tight in the second half after Adelaide had opened up a 29-point lead at quarter time and 28 at half time. Things have tightened up a lot since then. So another ball up. Neither side successfully able to extract it from the contest. O'Brien and Witts go opposite each other. You don't see that in a round the ground contest. It's Cumworth. Ainsworth drops it down the line. Under pressure, but taking the mark, Flanders. Dawson might have been hurt. Flanders says, well, if you're not going to stand up on the mark, I'm playing on. Goes inside forward 50 with a kick. Sloane off the pack. Gave it to Smith. Smith was hit by Cheetahs, didn't accept it. Down the line, Rosas with an intercept and sends it back long for Gold Coast. Inside 50, Ball Ace brings it down, makes a strong tackle as follow-up. It comes to Humphrey. Wide he goes. Chance for McPherson. Can't connect for the goal.
No left foot.
No.
It was set up for him on his left foot. He's trying to kick a check side running on his left foot.
10 points the margin. We'll get down to Liz in a moment to tell us what's going on with Jordan Dawson.
Exit from the Crows to Worrell at right half back. Wanted to hand it off. In the end, he'll go long. Kicks up towards the logo. You thought there may have been a man getting close to the mark there, Jamo. Off the pack, Thilthorpe. Heads towards the arc for Adelaide. 1-on-1. McAdam bounces off Andrew. It clears both of them. Lemons at the back. Roosts it out of danger. Ellis sitting in the hole. It landed right in his lap. Takes the mark for the Suns. Gives it to Atkins. Turns straight into Miller. I had to go back. Collins gives it off to the two-time Premiership Tiger. Ellis up to Casbolt. Too far out to score. Here come the Suns. Long ball. Left forward pocket rather. And King caught behind Sloane, who stood in the hole, took the intercept mark. Awful exit to Keys. Miller has had a fumble as well. McPherson's handball cut off by Ben Keys. Here come Adelaide on the outer side.
Gave it to Miller, straight through his hands again, but fortunately, again, they're able to tidy up through Crouch.
Great kick, Matty Crouch. They're out.
Found Soligo off his left foot. Inside 50 is Soligo. And that was well done by Rochelli. And Soligo's played on. He was looking for the easy goal. He's going to get it. McAdam was by himself in the pocket, ran into open goal, and a steadier for Adelaide. So the Crows, with McAdam getting his second of the afternoon, move along to 10-11-71, 8-7-55. Blessed relief. You can feel it around the stadium for the Crows fans.
Jeez, they made it hard for themselves, didn't they? But McAndrew, he didn't have to go. He rushed at Soligo, which left McAdam by himself in the goal square. So, really poor by Gold Coast. They had an opportunity. Casbolt's kick inside 50 was an absolute shocker. They had all the play. He just needed to launch the ball deep inside 50. Didn't do it. Adelaide capitalised, albeit a bit fumbly through the middle of the ground, but they're just better inside 50, Adelaide.
Well, Rory Sloane was the player that actually took that mark, isn't it, to be able to hold it up for Adelaide. But even his kick, when he went short, was a floater also, and then 3 or 4 fumbles, and yeah, they did have to work hard. So 2 goals apiece, 2-1 to the Gold Coast.
Jordan Dawson back out on the ground. Schomburg off the ruck contest, crunched heavy in the tackle from Cheetahs, but he got it out. Laird to Miller. Now Murphy on the outer side, just wide of the logo, backing up towards the boundary line. He stood off his mark, called to play on. Atkins applies the pressure. He squeezes it down the line to Keys, who keeps it in the field of play in the contest. Gathers on the bounce. Keys snaps towards the arc. Thilthorpe caught behind, goes to ground. Here's Schomburg scoreboard pocket. McPherson runs him down. Ball up to come. 25 out right forward pocket.
Haven't been penetrating kicks from Adelaide, but Lockie Murphy, a left footer, had to come around. Ben Keys, left footer.
Witts with a tap down. Rowell now with a headband is taken by a couple of Crows and tried to push off, said the umpire. That's holding the ball. Adelaide with a free kick in the scoreboard pocket. Which of the 3 is the best kick might be the question. It's going to go to Murphy. So Murphy will go back in the right forward pocket. So the advantage there for his left foot. And he will have a look at the goal face to further steady Adelaide.
Matty Rowell's got so much football ahead of him too. He is a star and he continues to win the football and win it all the time. If you can tackle him and restrict him, you're almost a chance, Brogues, a lot of the time, to win a free.
Murphy lays back on the kick straight across the goal face, and it didn't even score in the end. It's kept in play. Oh, bad exit by Atkins, but he manages to get the ball back. He kicked it straight to McAdam, who smothered it and then turned it over to the Gold Coast again, who got it down to centre wing. It's ahead of centre wing now. Miller has to pick it up, and he does, because Casbolt was looming, and ahead of him Cheetahs was in a lot of space heading towards the front 50.
It's a big ball by Miller. His player darted back to the goal square, so he committed to that contest and he had to nail it because that was a certain goal by Gold Coast.
16-point game, still 11 minutes to go. Witts handballed it forward. Laird took it in the air and Swallow shirt fronted him. Spilled out to Sloane, back to Dawson, around the body up to centre wing. It bounced off the head of Soligo. At the back, McAdam becomes the tackler and holds things up. True centre wing. Walker comes in with a little bit of afters as well and is flung to ground by Mac Andrew. Play will continue, no whistle. Bit of afters as Walker and Andrew get stuck into each other. Tossed up, Thilthorpe won it down for the Crows. Does his own crumbing as well. Bursting through, he handed it to Walker. Now Laird, crunched, charging in Holman, met Collins. May have been a slight head clash there as well. Holman just grabbing his ear, but he'll stay out. Ball up closer towards the arc for the Adelaide Footy Club. O'Brien down to Laird. Kicks a tumbler. Walker presents. Gathered on the bounce. Gave it to Murphy. Tried to dart across sideways and kicked straight into Farah with his shin. He's very sore. Meanwhile, Walker sends it inside 50 and it's cut off by Ballard. Murphy struggling with that left leg. Oh! Terrible exit. Ballard tried to kick across defensive 50 and all he found was Riley Thilthorpe. Jordan Dawson, rather. Jordan Dawson has marked it. 35 out, slightly right of centre.
It's been the Gold Coast knock all day, hasn't it, too? Just the way they exit out of defence. A lot of the time it's just been balls to get it out and just hope for the best and trying to pinpoint 30 out across goals.
So the skipper in a big moment, hoping to make their finals dream a reality. Jordan Dawson slots it. 22 points the margin. 11-11-77 plays 8-7-55 as we approach time on in the final term. Liz Walsh downstairs.
I've just heard from the Gold Coast club that I just wanted to give you a update on Will Powell. It was his left ankle that was the worry. They're saying it's different to the injury he had last year. He's down in the rooms in good spirits and they are optimistic that it's not broken, but they're not sure at this stage.
Green whistle might put you in good spirits.
Yeah, that's. I hope it's just not rolled if he's on the green whistle. But no, look pretty serious. Probably a really bad syndesmosis, which can be really painful. So, but you're right, Jamo. Gold Coast just haven't been able to exit deep inside their back 50 as well as what Adelaide have today, and Adelaide just made them pay there with the captain Dawson.
Sigh of relief by the Crows fans. Out of the middle, comes to Crouch again. Managed to slip the tackle. And goes out to centre wing looking for Murphy. Kept it in front of him. Rochelle for support. Hand pass back to Smith near the boundary on centre wing. Smith, one of the worst kicks of his career. It came off the outside of the boot, straight up in the air and about 10 rows back. So it'll be a free kick for the Gold Coast for Ellis out there.
35,000 in attendance. Ellis for the Suns. Loads up towards the arc. Ball ace. Got away from Casbolt, who went to ground and takes the innocent mark. What a debut. Consecutive weeks we've seen Keane and now ball ace.
15 disposals at 100%, 7 marks in defence.
Kick down the line. It'll stay that way because Fogarty's taken a pack mark in the middle of about 6. Blasts it high and long towards Walker, coming across Lemon's big fist. Smashes it into the front row. Scoreboard pocket. 22-point game. Still plenty of time for both sides.
They've been at each other all day, Sam Collins and Taylor Walker. It's constantly, verbally, physically.
Alpha male stuff, isn't it? Ball comes back into play. O'Brien gets to the front, tried to slip a hand pass. It found its way to Murphy, who gave a good hand pass to Thilthorpe. Top of the square with a kick. Rolled straight across to the other pocket. And just before Lemons could dispose of it, the umpire says, no, that's crossed the line. So left forward pocket for Adelaide. Ball to be thrown in. Crows now by 22 points, nearly 22 minutes into the final quarter.
Just under 9 minutes remaining, still plenty of time for the Gold Coast.
Tossed in, O'Brien double tap down, Lemons left it behind, Collins exits with a quick kick, long, hard, straight up the spine. Andrew launches over Michael Annie, takes it, dangerous kick across. Hit Lukosius in the end as Murphy was charging to cut it off. Here's a launch. What a massive roost. Up towards the 50. Swallow trying to take the mark up against Smith. Went to ground. Smith gathers. Little toe poke forward up towards Dawson. He gets it again on the third bite. Smith. And out towards the square finds Fogarty. Outside is Saligo. Nothing ahead of him. Can head towards half forward. Dink it over the top. Thilthorpe grabs it at his knees and then tackled just as he tried to get boot to ball. Dropped it. Ballard, the instigator. Here come the Suns on the counter.
Wow. That really balls that one up too. Riley Thilthorpe down behind play.
Lukosius was about to play on. We'll come back now. That's Thilthorpe.
Say he'd be winded after that.
No, his kick was smothered and the leg is the problem. So we'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, Adelaide intercept mark. Hinge now has the ball pointed to the centre square left half back. Across the square he goes to Smith and then he flares wide to the eastern side to Murphy. Murphy with the mark, slows down and just drops it in short. The lead up by Rochelle. So he takes the mark, 10, 15 metres in from the boundary. Thilthorpe's back on his feet and inside the forward line as Rochelle arcs out to his right, kicks it down the line. Oh, McAdam got a sit. Oh, he got a sit big time. And he took the mark at half forward. Gets up, drops it inside 50 on the lead. Thilthorpe. Ball comes to ground. Yeah, it's fallen for Laird. Off to Keys, back to Laird in the scoreboard pocket. He tries a banana kick. It goes straight across to the other side and picked up by Ainsworth. And he'll run it out for the Gold Coast. His kick was poor. In came Hinge. Knocked it out in the direction of Ball Ace. He's done well to keep Swallow pinned and now he's tackled him and the umpire's circling and he's going to say you dived on the ball. No, he isn't.
He was lucky there, Swallow.
The drama.
He was real lucky.
The biggest tease there.
Yeah, these blokes.
circling. Nah, not today.
Shane McAdam. He'll have a look at that. Riley O'Brien, he sat on his own teammate's head.
Lee Howson tosses it in the air. O'Brien won it down. Here's Rao. Breaks away. Heading towards the square. Presenting was Casbolt. Slipped through his hands. Lukosius on the bounce though. Pops it short towards King. A little too low. Left it behind. Ainsworth charges in. Hinge wraps him up. Ball up to come at half forward.
Looks like Gold Coast have put McAndrew forward. He's started the game as a backman. Now he's full forward.
It's win or bust for the Suns here. Season on the line. Witts wins it down. Rao again. Gets it out to Flanders. Kick smothered by Nankervis. Desperation there from the Crows youngster. Comes back to Flanders. Chip kick. Forward. Cheetahs with the tackle. Almost drove Dawson into the turf there. Instead, we'll get a ball up.
The Gold Coast, no goals in the first, 3-3 in the second, 3 in the third. They're going to need 4 to win this game from here with just 6 minutes remaining.
Just outside attacking 50. Cheetahs tries to go through, pinned straight away. So another ball up. Quiet over the crowd. They're still a little bit worried about this result after Adelaide looked like they had it really under control for so long. Off the packet comes Saligo, brilliant. He stepped through a couple of tacklers and then dropped it short for Walker near the boundary.
Great composure.
So Walker with the mark and then slows things down, goes back to find Hinge. Maybe Adelaide has learned from what happened in Darwin in round 12 when they gave up a lead to lose by 25 points to the Suns. They chip it around at the back to Michael Annie. Now they can switch play and they go out to Ball Ace on the eastern side. He's made a bit of space. What's he got down the ground? He drops it out in front of Worrell. And the two defenders who played so stoically for the SANFL side of the Crows are now combining at the top level.
Worrell squares it up to Smith, still on the outer wing.
Good football from Adelaide, maintaining possession.
Here comes the switch. All the way across defensive 50. Keane to Dawson, all alone, broadcast side. Down the line he goes to Schomburg. The Suns letting Adelaide get away with it here, and they're running out of time. Schomburg forward, Saligo too far out to score. And back inside to Nankervis. Happy to hold on to the footy right now.
They've done it for a minute and a half. Gold Coast can't get near it, and now they've just kicked backwards. They're going to transition once again.
22-point game. Here's the switch, as Jamo alluded to. Dawson now to the outer side. Spots Ball Ace. And now Sloan. Bit of keepies off at the Adelaide Oval. The crowd a bit quiet about it, but they'll certainly be happy when that siren sounds. Michael Annie now on the boundary line, heads up towards the arc. Andrew, what a fly. Almost a springboard into the air to take the intercept mark for the Suns. They've got to go. Andrew down the line, hits Cheetahs. Turns defensive edge, back to Andrew. Handball forward to Holman. Now Ellis. The desperation evident now in the Gold Coast outfit. The Suns through Flanders into the 50. Charging across Casbolt. Takes the mark. 25 out. 45-degree angle to the right.
We haven't seen that all day from Gold Coast. The link up with the hands, get through the corridor, shoulders out. Anderson hits Casbolt with a beautiful kick.
The veteran needs to stand up. Casbolt kicks from 40, starting left, coming back. He's got two. And the Suns haven't set yet at the Adelaide Oval. 16 points the margin. Liz Walsh downstairs.
Riley Thilthorpe has come from the ground. He's got a fair bit of concern over his right ankle. He was in a fair bit of pain when he came from the ground. His shoe is currently off. It's being restrapped. So hopefully we'll see him back out there soon.
Well, it's an isolated incident, but Adelaide started that passage of play with 6 minutes remaining, and we're now sitting at 3:29. So 2.5 minutes of just maintaining possession, transitioning, doing that, and then the kick from, I think, Rory Sloan missed the body, and that's when Max Michael Annie had to go down the line, and you called it that Mac Andrew now back is at full forward, and he's taken a mark almost in the back pocket for Adelaide.
He's got some talent, hasn't he, Mac Andrew? God, he looks like a good player.
Yeah.
Gold Coast almost stuck with only 3 in the centre square. Then Swallow came on late. Now the ball bounced and it's come down to Sloan off the back of the centre circle, down to Walker at half forward, takes a chest mark. He's not without a chance from here. He plays on, goes into the pocket. McAdam leads and takes the mark. Taylor Walker, 33 years of age, has not lost any skill whatsoever.
How's the kick? Like, he just... He demanded McAdam get to that spot. Like, he's just a beautiful field kick, Taylor Walker. And, yep, you called it, Jamo. Those two have been going at it all day. It's a great little battle. But this to probably ice the game.
Still doing it too.
So Walker and Collins into each other. A little bit of push and shove and a little bit of direction pointing from Walker.
Might have been a free downfield even if McAdam didn't take the mark.
And McAdam kicks a goal. So his third of the afternoon surely settles the contest. Adelaide 12-11-83. Gold Coast 9-7-61. 29 minutes, almost to the 30-minute mark of this final term. The Suns, you'd have to say, have been brave in their comeback, but they're going to fall short.
Well, it's the 12th win, Brogues, or 12th time Gold Coast have come to Adelaide and haven't managed to snag one as yet.
The old dog Sloan to Walker. out of the centre bounce to Walker. I mean, what a pairing they've been for the Adelaide Football Club, and hasn't Sloan made a huge impact since he's come on?
And there is talk that they are discussing another contract for Rory Sloan. He might go around one more year, so for all Adelaide supporters, I think it'd be good news to have him stick around.
Certainly deserves one.
He said himself they'd have to force him out. He wasn't going to retire. O'Brien wins it down. Sliding in, Sloan fighting for the footy, comes back to Dawson, uses Schomburg, then Laird. Pushed as he kicked it onto the outer side. Keys racing onto it, battling with Farah close to the boundary line. Farah keeps it in for Gold Coast. Handball over the top from Cheetahs, didn't know what was behind him. He gave it away to Crouch, who's caught holding the ball.
Farah just closing speed.
Possibly one last roll of the dice for Gold Coast. They need a major here, and they've coughed it straight up. Atkins raced to half forward and gave it away under pressure to Schomburg, who's got it back from Crouch. Up to half forward, little high for McAdam. Trickles towards the arc. Gold Coast have numbers, and they'll look to switch across half back using Witts.
So Witts then swings the ball from one side to the other to Ellis, and Ellis then has Ainsworth available, takes the mark near the interchange gates. Gold Coast need to go quickly now. Ainsworth down long with his kick. Middle of the pack was Keane, couldn't get a hand on it in the end. Andrew came away with it, and he was grabbed just as he was about to kick it. That time it's a free kick. We saw a couple in the previous quarter we weren't paid like that. Hinge, meanwhile, goes back to near the goal face, the defensive goals for Adelaide. Miller with the mark. He drops it in short from Michael Annie.
Adelaide transitioning here. Gold Coast have pressed down rather than sit back and defend space.
Michael Annie, low hard ball, hit Sloan in the end. Lukosius was against him, but it's worked. He legs it to Keys, right half back. Hinge and Crouch with 31 disposals apiece for Adelaide. Flanders the best for Gold Coast with 26. Long ball from Ben Keys. Through centre wing out of side. O'Brien launches, slipped through his hands. At the back, Collins uses a couple of teammates. Nice little chain as Anderson finds Swallow, then Roses forward. Up to Ellis. Tried to give it to King, and it's slapped away by Mark Keane, who heads into the 50 and finds Rochelle. He can chip it over the top to ice the game. Darcy Fogarty marks at the top of the goal square. Excellent transition, turnover footy.
Mark Keane, once again, has come in against Port Adelaide last week. Beat his immediate opponent in Charlie Dixon. Had a tremendous debut for Adelaide and followed it up again today. 15 disposals, 87%. Great anticipation to win the football back for Adelaide in the middle of the ground.
Yeah, it's the kick though. Just off, it was sort of leaning and just darted it inside forward 50.
Fogarty comes in and puts it to bed. 3 for the afternoon, and Adelaide has its sights firmly on September footy. They lead by 28 points, 13-11-89 to 9-7-61.
Well, what more can we say about Keane and Borlase?
Yeah.
Geez, they're in a strong position with their key backs, albeit they've got a few out. But these guys, Keane, that's 2 weeks in a row now. He looks super impressive. Yeah. And then you throw Borlase in. Wow, honestly, lots of clubs are screaming for key backs. Adelaide have 5 of them.
Well, for those that aren't, Mark Keane, the Irishman, went to Collingwood and spent a couple of years there too. Got homesick just as COVID hit and ended up going back to Ireland. And Adelaide picked him up at the start of this year.
Ruckman go at it. O'Brien taps it down. The finals are alive for Adelaide. In the end, it was a 28-point victory, which was the margin at half-time. They were wobbly in the second half, but they get away with it.
The Suns didn't turn up to the party at the Adelaide Oval. The Crows surged out of the blocks They led by 29 points at quarter time and never looked back. 28 at the half, 17 at three-quarter time. And as Crossy mentioned, winners by 28 points, 13-11-89 to 9-7-61. Darcy Fogarty with 3 alongside Shane McAdam. 2 to Walker, singles to Saligo, Dawson, Crouch, Murphy and Keys. The Crows sink the Suns season and they've kept their own dream alive. Winners by 28 points. Gold Coast remain winless at the Adelaide Oval. It'll be a disappointing end to their season after a very impressive display in the Q Clash last week. Goal scorers for them, 2 to King, Lukosha, singles to Ellis, Rao, Casbolt and McPherson. Earlier today, Essendon defeating West Coast by a point. And over at the MCG, the twilight fixture, which we'll take you to shortly, Hawthorn have kicked the opening 4 goals of the game against Collingwood to lead 4-2-26 to the Magpies 3 behind. So we'll get you there in a moment, but for now, let's get the thoughts of our experts, Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan.
Well, it ended up being a pretty good game, didn't it? Albeit it was scrappy. But, and look, Gold Coast after quarter time were a lot better, but Adelaide essentially summed up the game in the first quarter. But they were challenged. Adelaide were challenged, and if they kicked a little bit straighter in the third quarter, it might be a little bit different, but they didn't. And they were challenged again, and they came out and they flexed their muscle, as they should, where they sit on the ladder. Super impressive. Like their key backs, we talked about it the whole call. Ball Ace and Keane were sensational today, and Adelaide's midfield again just keeps keeping on. Crouch, superb. Hinge, you don't speak much about Hinge, but he just gets the job done every week. He was definitely in some of their top 3 players today. But Adelaide, season's still alive. They're very much up to their eyeballs in this season, and they're playing some pretty good footy.
Well, they've got a big 3 weeks ahead. They go to play Brisbane in Brisbane, Sydney here back at home, and then West Coast Eagles away. So it's all there for the taking. The Gold Coast, they go and take on Sydney away. They got Carlton at home and then the Kangaroos away. So you potentially
they need everything to go their way.
Yeah, totally. Coast, yeah. From now they do.
Oh, no, they can't make it from here. They're not in a position to make it, I don't think. But take nothing of... They'll just slow out of the blocks. But at quarter time, they got going again. But you can just tell they're a little bit not sure what to do with ball in hand. And they've got their spike from the new coach, but reality has probably set in now. And they've got a bit of a way to go against clubs like Adelaide. And it's always a tough challenge to come here and play Adelaide, or Port Adelaide for that matter. But Adelaide, they were good. They were good without being outstanding. They were good. And coming off a showdown win, there can always be a bit of a lull. But they showed up today, and the game was over essentially by quarter time. They'd done enough damage to win by, I think, what the scoreboard says now. But they've got some good players now, Adelaide, haven't they? They've really got some good players.
I think some of their moments for Adelaide again, they make it difficult for themselves without being disrespectful to the opposition, and that's not just the Gold Coast today. They put themselves in positions where they can win the game or give themselves an opportunity, but they're kicking. They just can't nail them, Crossy. Like, they should be so much further up the ladder than what they are, and I know that's easy to say, but when you look through critically at the results and what they've missed, their set shots, it just hurts them incredibly.
But Brogues, you were saying there, they've got some players, Adelaide. Clubs talk about repeatedly, they will talk about depth. But you don't really experience that unless you get into trouble with a few injuries and that. And Adelaide's done that, and all of a sudden you're seeing, oh, hang on, they might have a few more players than we thought. Is that what...
Well, this is why the SANFL is so important. And they've been up there with Glenelg. They've had the best SANFL team every week, and they've been very good with injuries this year, so a lot of their players have been able to play some consistent footy in both grades. But you look at Malera, he's like a new recruit for these guys. Haven't seen him for the last 2 years. He spent some time in the SANFL. He's coming in and he's starting to show the potential that we all thought. The big key pillars down back, Murray and Butts have been sensational all year, so they're going to have to do their time, and that's what they've done. They haven't sulked about it. albeit they're a bit young, but they're just getting the job done every week. So when your name gets called, or your number, you are ready to go, and that's what the Crows have done this year. Anyone that's come into this side has performed. Look at Crouch now. It's arguably best on ground today, last week and the week before. So they're in a really good spot, and you're right, Jamo, if they just kicked a little bit straighter in some of these games, they'd be sitting in the top 4.
Yeah. Well, I'm just having a quick look if we've got time. So Samberry didn't play. Jordan Butts, Braden Cook, Tom Doedee, Lockie Gallant, Will Hamill, Elliot Himmelberg, Ned McHenry, Nick Murray, Patrick Parnell, Luke Pedler, Isaac Rankin, Lockie Scholl. Like the depth that they have there. Now, I mean, I think if Riley O'Brien was to go down, probably Kieran Strawn comes in. There's some multiple ways that they could adapt, but the depth and the health of the list this year for Adelaide has been good. It's only been in recent weeks that they've copped a couple of injuries.
But the most impressive, as you say, are the defenders, because the likes of Worrell, Nankervis, Ball Ace, it's basically the SANFL backline they've had in the past couple of years.
So they've gained cohesion together.
And they've played together.
Yeah.
You know, Ball Ace and Keane have played a lot of footy in the SANFL together, so they know how each other rolls and plays and talks and walks and all that sort of stuff. But the game style, it's just a good game style. They go quick, they go fast, they're not afraid to pull kicks. They're very good at ground ball level. Their contest work is better. They're getting the ball quickly inside 50, which gives their forwards a shots on goal. And we're seeing it now. And yeah, they're in a good spot, and it's going to be a great 3-4 weeks for the Adelaide Football Club, and they're going to cause some damage.
The thoughts of Dean Brogan and Rod Jamieson, your experts this afternoon. Adelaide winners by 28 points. Let's head into the rooms.
Thanks, Aaron. That's right. We're down here in the rooms. Great excitement. Rory Sloane's leading them off the ground, which is great. Last week we had Luke Nankervis, Mark Keane getting the energy drink shower. Today it will be James Borlase, who had a beautiful debut for the club. The players are getting around him now, giving him some pats on the shoulder, picking up the bottles down here.
Just looking at the big screen, Liz too. Is it Chase Jones?
Chase Jones is just
crutches?
walking past me now. He's on crutches. He had ice on that foot throughout that 4th term. Riley Thilthorpe he looked in trouble, but he seems okay. And we're all just getting together now. There they go, getting James Borlase all wet with the energy drinks. Oh gosh, they enjoy doing this, don't they? And here we go. He'll get to sing the song for the first time. There you have it, their second consecutive win, and we're hoping to speak with Matt Crouch. I'll be back soon.
We'll head back down into the rooms in a moment. We do have to drop off our listeners in Gold Coast and the Queensland in a couple of minutes' time. So, gents, your votes for the afternoon.
I've handballed it straight to Bro.
Let me. I wrote this down. Oh, look, I think Crouch was best on ground. Just efficient, going forward, metres gained, contested possessions. Like, he was by far the best midfielder out there, which set him up. Look, I'm going to throw Hinge in there. I think he's just solid every week, and 31 disposals, 74% efficiency, 15 contested possessions. He's just a good, very good player. And look, I'm going to throw Fogarty in there. I thought he was sensational. 3 goals, 8
touches,
8 tackles, which I love. A big forward tackling. So, look, you could have special mentions to Keane and Ball Ace, but they were really good. They had really good even contribution, but those were my three standouts today.
Well done. 3 votes, Matty Crouch, 2 to Mitch Hinge, and 1 to Darcy Fogarty.
Happy with those, Jamo?
Yeah, all clear.
Brogues has passed the test.
Yep, wave the flag.
Great to hear. Adelaide's 10th win of the season squares the ledger as well, so they're 10-10. And obviously a chance to still play finals a big couple of weeks to come. Obviously Brisbane next week, the Swans after that here in Adelaide, and then West Coast to round out their regular season. The Brisbane game's a big one. I think that actually gives us a chance to see where they really sit. And if they do make finals, my calculations didn't have them winning that game to make finals. But if they get blown away, it's almost a sense of, well, if they make the 8, they won't do much damage. But if they're competitive with Brisbane at the Gabba, which is no easy task, it'll certainly set the stage for what could be a fun September.
Oh, look, I think they're a difficult side, aren't they? Any team that goes up and tries to take on Brisbane up, they're really hard. They're going to play Fremantle tomorrow. Who knows what they get? Big travel across. It's the biggest trip for Brisbane to go to Western Australia. So, yep, big challenge, and it's all before them.
If you're ever going to start winning on the road, next week's probably the game, isn't it?
Be a great spot.
Go up there. Everyone will expect Brisbane. No pressure on them at all. But it's a super important game. Go up there and get the win and show everybody you're ready to play finals.
For our listeners on the Gold Coast, you're off to the NRL in a moment, and everyone on Queensland News Radio, you're headed back to regular programming. It's Adelaide winners by 28 points, 13-11-89 to Gold Coast 9-7-61. Darcy Fogarty and Shane McAdam with 3 goals each. Fogarty snuck into the votes with 1. Matt Crouch, 3 votes for his 31 disposals, 274 metres gained and a goal with 7 score involvements. Mitch Hinge, 2 votes, had 31 touches as well, 15 of those contested, so he's certainly lighting things up down back. The Suns' season is essentially over. Adelaide's remains alive, with Brisbane to come, Sydney and West Coast after that. Earlier today, Essendon defeating West Coast by a point. And over at the MCG, it is quarter time with Hawthorn leading by 23 points. For our listeners on the East Coast, wherever you are headed, I hope you enjoy the remainder of your weekend and stay safe out there across Australia. And for our listeners here in Adelaide, we'll stick around because we can head straight to the rooms with Liz Walsh for some reaction. Down to you, Liz.
That's right. Thank you, Aaron. I'm here with Crows midfielder Matt Crouch. Matt, an excellent win with the season on the line. Can you put that one into words for us?
Yeah, it was. I thought we knew coming into the game the contest was going to be massive, and they're a very good contest team. So, it was good to get the job done.
That first quarter obviously critical in the win. When they started coming back in the back half of the game, what's going through your head?
Yeah, it would have been nice if we could convert it in front of goal. I think that we probably shot ourselves in the foot a little bit in that aspect of the game, but we were able to keep playing, and I think it's easy to get down on yourself when you can't score like that and can't convert, but we hang in there pretty well.
Great to see James Borlase make his debut, and what a debut it was.
Yeah, he was really solid. I think he's toiled away at sample level and learned his craft quite well, so he was ready to come in tonight and play his role, and he did a great job.
Let's head up to our experts. We've got Rod Jamieson and Dean Brogan.
Yeah, Rod Jamieson, Crouchy, well done personally as well. And, they challenged you in that third quarter, particularly when we kicked 7 behinds. But to finish off well like you did, you must be pretty impressed.
Yeah, they did, Jamo. I thought, they were really strong in the contest, and we knew that they'd bring that throughout the game. And we were able to withstand that, then come back in the last quarter and finish the game off, which is great.
Probably one of the Achilles heels, Crouchy, too, is just the set shots. You know, if I go back a couple of weeks to Melbourne, it's, the 9 behinds from set shots. Today, 7 in the third quarter. I know all clubs do a lot of work on it, but how do you combat that?
Yeah, we do a heap of work. Like, if you've seen us at main training, I think we get sick of kicking a goal. We do so much work, but it's obviously different in a match, and obviously there's a bit more pressure. So we're going to be able to handle that and convert. So it's something we need to keep working on.
Crouchy, Brogues here, mate. Firstly, I just want to compliment you on your last 3 weeks. The year you've had to come in and impact that side like you have, it's a full credit to you, mate. So I just wanted to say well done. Just on that, have you changed your game at all, or you've just stayed the same, but now you're just getting more of an opportunity? It's just coming more to the front a little bit, or talk to us a little bit about where you sit with your game at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like there's been things I've been working on. Obviously, I want to kick the ball a bit more, bro. So it's something I've worked on for the last sort of 18 months to try and be able to kick the ball a bit more when I can, and try and drive at the game. But I feel like my strength's still in the contest, and we've got some really good outside players and some guys I can give the ball to, and they can use it quite well. So it helps when you have them guys around you as well.
The group that you've got, Crouchy, it just seems that one player out, one player in, it actually doesn't matter. And your backline today, I think, was sitting on 14 games. Your key pillars back there with the injuries to Butts and Murray. is there a feeling amongst the group? It doesn't matter who's playing. You've got this group that can win any game, no matter who's playing where. Talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, I feel like probably the first 15 rounds we didn't have much change at all within the squad, and we're playing some decent footy, and guys are playing their role, but we've had a few injuries of late, and guys have got their opportunity to come in. I feel like they've been ready. So Nixie talks about a squad mentality, and you never know when you're going to get a chance. So I think guys that have come in the team have been able to come in and play at the level, which has been great.
Matt Crouch is our guest on Grandstand AFL. 31 touches in the Crows' 28-point victory. Crouchy, it's Aaron Bryans here. Just on the depth that Brogues touched on there, the belief within this footy club that you've lost a lot of star players down back, and it hasn't seemed to faze you. Can you take us internally, I guess, how the momentum has progressed through this season?
Yeah, it's been... I feel like we were in some games early in the year where we felt like we could have won, and that's been a bit of a frustration. But to have guys go down and being able for guys to step up and play a role has been huge. So we feel like we're building pretty nicely. We feel like our game style will hold up in big games, and there's real belief within the group at the moment.
And Matt, for you personally, you've spoken a bit across the week about your return to the footy club and how hard you fought in the SANFL to make it back into this side. But can you tell us specifically, I guess, what the messaging was? What was Matthew Nicks looking for you to improve on that has made you find your way back?
Yeah, there's a little bit what I spoke about earlier about driving at the game and trying to be a bit more damaging with the ball. And also it's been a little bit around the mix of that midfield. Laddie's obviously a bloody good player, and he's a similar sort of player to me, so it's about getting that mix right. I feel like we've been able to get that right in the last few weeks as well.
I know you want to talk more about your own team, but can I just ask you, like Jared Witts in the middle is a monster of a bloke, and Matty Rowell is just a brute. Like, to come up against those two, how was that today? Yeah, I mean, you've actually belted them, Crouchy, in the clearances and the stoppage clearance. So it's a huge tick to yourself and the rest of the midfield.
Yeah, big Witz, he's a big fella. He obviously gives them boys first use, and I thought today Rob competed really well against him. So, he's a big unit, and he's one of the premier ruckmans of the competition. But also Rowell, I don't think I've ever played against a guy who fights a tackle more. He really, once you tackle him, he really fights it hard, and it's hard to stop him. So he's a big kid as well. So to come out against them guys and get it done today was really pleasing.
Matty, congratulations on the performance, and best of luck against the Lions next week.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for that.
Great to have Matt Crouch on Grandstand AFL. 3 votes after his 31 disposals and a goal handed by Dean Brogan in the end. Ripping story that he's come all the way back in after being maligned and unwanted, and now he is firmly entrenched in the 22.
I need to pull you up now. He wasn't unwanted. He didn't want to be there because he felt there was an opportunity because he had to work on parts of his game, which he acknowledged, and now he's been able to do that, plus opportunity. You can see how he's improved a lot.
I'll counter that by saying Crows fans certainly didn't want him for a stage. I think there was a bit of push to try and move him on, but I think they'll be very happy he stuck around.
He mentions the mix, and we talk about the mix, right? And that's essentially probably why he hasn't been getting a game, because the midfield coach, and for whatever reason, the mix, he just doesn't fit in, 10 weeks ago in that mix. But they've changed their game style now, and look, if you look at his metres gained compared to other players, it's not huge.
No.
But you look at his disposals efficiency, it's 81%. You look at his contested ball, 11 contested possession, 9 ground ball gets. That's work rate. 4 clearances, a goal, 7 score involvements. I don't know what more you want from your third mid. So I think we need to. We're looking at him differently now because he is that third mid. He's not the number one. He is at the moment, stats-wise, but he's not the gun mid anymore. Yeah. And if that's your third bunny, so to speak, oh my God, you would take that every week.
Well, so the disposal efficiency is the area too. Again, always meters game, but most games that would be 40 to 50, if lucky to be 60. Now you're up in the high 80s. That's where Rory Laird continually plays his game, 70s and 80s all the time. But well done.
Dawson comes into that midfield, and he's your meters games player. Rory Laird's your meters game player. You don't need everybody getting meters gained. So the dynamics has changed in that midfield group, and now he got his chance, and he's just doing what Crouch does way more efficiently now, which is a massive boost for that footy team and that midfield group.
Brogues, great to have you back in the box.
Great to be here.
Good job with the votes as well. Jamo, good to see you again.
Always a pleasure.
Exciting next weekend. We've got the Power and the Giants, I reckon, so we'll see how we go there.
I'm off on the Variety Bash.
Oh, that's right, you are. Well, you go enjoy yourself.
Can't believe I'm camping.
Freshen up before.
Seriously.
Surely you'd be in a 5-star hotel up there somewhere, Jamo.
Then back for the Sydney game in Adelaide in a couple of weeks' time.
Crossy, good calling as always. Thanks to Paul Brokenshire, our tech, to Liz Walsh downstairs, and Mitch Turner back in the studio. Adelaide winners by 28 points. 10-10 for the year. Their sights firmly on September action. 13-11-89 to 9-7-61. Darcy Fogarty and Shane McAdam with 3 goals apiece. Over at the Docklands, the Bombers won by a point over West Coast, with Carl Langford kicking 5 to get them over the line. But at the MCG, Collingwood still haven't kicked a goal. Let's head there and join our commentary team. Joel Peterson, Andrew Mays, Mick Malthouse and Brett Harvey on Grandstand AFL.
Collingwood's ball movement from half back. I think